Just reminding ourselves of why we're sitting here.
Vamos nos lembrar por que a gente está sentado aqui hoje.
To listen to Buddha's views about reality.
Para ouvir sobre as visões do Buda a respeito da
To
realidade.
hear it as advice.
Ouvir os seus conselhos.
So if we, and we don't need to take it. Buddha's not the boss, we're the boss, but it is advice.
O Buda não é o chefe, nós somos o chefe, mas esses são os conselhos dele.
So to hear it like that.
Então a gente ouve com essa postura.
It's for two things. The advice is how to develop our own amazing potential so we can help others develop theirs.
Então, é sobre duas coisas. A capacidade de podermos desenvolver nosso próprio potencial e nos tornar de benefício aos seres.
No. The two things are how to develop our own amazing potential so we can help others develop theirs.
Ok. Nós desenvolvemos o nosso maravilhoso potencial para que nós possamos ajudar os outros seres a desenvolverem o potencial deles.
Exactly. That's a bit different, yes. Sangye chadang soke chognam la jantro baru dagni kyabsu chi dagi chönyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa shog Sangye chadang soke chognam la jantro baru dagni kyabsu chi dagi chönyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa shog Sangye chadang soke chognam la jantro baru dagni kyabsu chi Dagi chönyen gi personam ki drola penche sangye drupa shog. Okay, so yesterday what we did was gave some background.
Então, o que a gente fez ontem foi a gente deu uma visão sobre a base.
For understanding, for background to prime our mind so we can hear properly, more properly, dependent arising and emptiness.
Contexto de base para que a gente pudesse preparar nossa mente para a gente poder compreender a originação dependente e a vacuidade.
And of course it was in the framework of this packaging of the Buddha's teachings called the Lam Rim.
E tudo isso dentro desse pacote ou dessa apresentação dos ensinamentos do Buda que se chama Lam Rim.
Because if we're here in this package we're at the level of the university level.
Porque dentro desse pacote, ou desse conjunto de ensinamentos, está o nível universitário.
And we know perfectly well, with any body of knowledge, you can't just leap into university. You've got to do high school and junior school first. It's kind of evident, isn't it?
E nós sabemos muito bem que com qualquer tipo de ensinamento, a gente não pode pular do ensino fundamental, a gente não pode pular direto para o nível universitário. A gente tem que passar pelo ensino fundamental, pelo ensino médio.
But when it comes to spiritual teachings, we don't think like that.
Só que quando diz respeito a ensinamentos espirituais, a gente não costuma pensar assim.
Yes, as we said yesterday, we looked at the first level of practice is abiding by the laws of karma.
Então, o primeiro nível de prática, como foi dito ontem, é respeitar as leis do karma.
At that level, the explicit meaning is good ethics.
Então, o nível expresso desse ensinamento nesse nível é a boa ética.
We intentionally want to give up harming others because we don't want suffering.
A gente voluntariamente deixa de prejudicar os outros porque nós não queremos sofrer.
Because of this law of cause and effect.
Por causa dessa lei de causa e efeito.
The law of karma.
A lei do karma.
That everything we think and do and say produces our future.
Então, tudo que a gente faz com o nosso corpo e fala em mente produz o nosso futuro.
But what's implied, the implicit thing here, which is preparing us for emptiness.
Então, o que está implícito aqui, que está nos preparando para a vacuidade,
is that karma, the law of cause and effect, is an example of the first level of dependent arising.
É que o karma, essa lei de causa e efeito, ela é um exemplo do primeiro nível da originação dependente.
And dependent arising is the best logic to prove emptiness.
E a originação dependente é a melhor lógica para provar a vacuidade.
So then we get to the second level of practice, the second scope of the Lam Rim, as I call it, high school, and now we get to become actually Buddhists. We start to look into the mind.
Então, no segundo nível que ela vai mencionar agora, do Lam Rim, é quando a gente está no ensino médio e é quando a gente começa a contemplar, estudar a nossa própria mente.
So here the explicit approach is to see the suffering that comes from attachment and aversion and all the other delusions, the suffering that comes to ourself.
Então, aqui a gente começa a lidar com o sofrimento que é causado por nós mesmos.
Yeah, but the implicit thing here is when we start to learn the mind more deeply.
Mas o que está implícito aqui é que a gente começa a conhecer a nossa mente de uma forma mais profunda.
We understand this very specific approach of the Buddhas.
E a gente aprende essa abordagem muito específica do budismo.
That explains that all the unhappy states of mind, these delusions, these attachment and aversion and the rest,
que explica todos esses estados desprazerosos da mente, né? A delusão, a inquietação, o
the
sofrimento.
reason they cause us suffering
O porquê que elas nos causam
is
sofrimento?
because they're misconceptions.
Porque elas são visões errôneas.
So like we talked yesterday,
Como nós dissemos ontem,
it's surprising when we hear that anger is a misconception. We think of it as an emotion,
nós ficamos surpresos quando a gente escuta dizer que a raiva é uma visão errônea, porque na verdade a gente acredita que ela é uma emoção.
But when we start to learn to focus on our mind,
Mas quando a gente começa a aprender a focar na nossa própria mente,
using Buddha's view,
usando a visão do Buda,
and start to see our mind more deeply,
a gente começa a ver a nossa mente mais profundo.
we can recognize that attachment, aversion, jealousy, and all the others are misconceptions. They're wrong view. They're literally misconceptions. They're delusional thoughts.
A gente começa a reconhecer que essas emoções aflitivas, elas são todas delusões, pensamentos deludidos, são concepções errôneas.
So we're not living in reality, Buddha says.
Então o Buda diz que nós não estamos vivendo na realidade.
The extent to which attachment and anger and jealousy and pride and all the other disturbing emotions prevail in our mind.
E ele diz que o apego, a aversão, o ciúme, todas as emoções aflitivas, elas dominam a nossa mente.
Is the extent to which we're not in touch with reality.
E isso causa que nós não estejamos em contato com a realidade.
When we can understand this, we're really on track with understanding Buddha's approach.
Quando a gente consegue compreender isso, a gente está no caminho certo para entender a abordagem budista.
So this prepares us for this crucial point in understanding emptiness.
Então, isso tudo nos prepara para esse ponto crucial para podermos compreender a vacuidade.
That the root delusion, ignorance, marigpa, the root delusion, ignorance, marigpa in Tibetan, unawareness,
que essa delusão raiz, marigpa em tibetano, que é a falta, a não consciência plena.
And this is really what we hear. This is what was really stressed when we think about emptiness. This point.
E isso é algo que é muito recebe muito relevo quando a gente considera a vacuidade.
This is the root misconception, the main mistake that our mind makes.
Esse é o erro principal que a nossa mente comete, essa é a grande concepção errada.
It causes us to believe totally in the exact opposite of reality.
E ela nos leva a acreditar completamente no oposto completo da realidade.
So we started talking yesterday about the different levels of dependent arising.
Ontem a gente começou a falar sobre os diversos níveis da originação dependente.
And as we discussed, the framework for this is the two truths, as Buddha calls it.
E a gente discutiu a moldura dentro do qual isso é apresentado das duas verdades.
The conventional, the way things exist conventionally.
O modo como as coisas existem convencionalmente.
And the way things exist finally.
E o modo como as coisas existem finalmente.
Finally, yeah. Finally, the way things exist.
Finalmente, o modo como as coisas existem.
So what Buddha is saying is, because of this ignorance deep in our bones.
E o que o Buda diz é que, devido a essa ignorância que está encravada nos nossos ossos,
it causes everything to appear to us in a wrong way.
Essa ignorância faz com que tudo apareça para a gente, tudo se manifeste de uma forma equivocada.
And of course, this is puzzling to us.
Isso é uma coisa que deixa a gente muito
If we're
surpreso.
talking about ordinary reality, about what exists and what doesn't.
Então, quando a gente fala sobre a realidade ordinária, sobre o que existe ou não existe,
And I'll say, oh, that's my thermos cup. That's my black thermos cup.
então eu digo, isso é a minha garrafa térmica preta.
That's true. It's reality.
Verdade, é a realidade.
And so we think, well, what does Buddha mean? I'm seeing it wrongly. It's very puzzling to us.
Então a gente se pergunta, mas o que o Buda quer dizer? Eu estou vendo isso errado? Isso deixa a gente muito perplexo.
We can't recognize any mistake in the mind.
A gente não consegue reconhecer nenhum erro na nossa mente.
And the reason is because these mistakes are so deep.
E a razão é porque essa percepção ela está muito enraizada.
So habitual.
Muito habitual.
I mean, Buddha says countless lives,
São muitas e muitas vidas.
We're totally programmed in these misconceptions.
E a gente está programado completamente para essa má concepção das coisas.
So in the high school level, we looked into attachment,
Então, no ensino médio, a gente olha para o apego,
which is the main voice of this ignorance.
que é a voz principal dessa ignorância.
It's the first manifestation of this root delusion.
É a primeira manifestação dessa delusão raiz.
So remember, this attachment, when we analyze it, we can see how it's mistaken.
Então, quando a gente pode analisar esse apego, a gente consegue enxergar o quanto ele está errado.
I mean, in fact, we experience this all day, but we don't pay attention.
Na verdade, a gente experiencia isso o dia inteiro, mas a gente simplesmente não presta atenção.
You know, when my stomach is empty and I'm all excited about the chocolate cake.
Então, quando minha barriga está vazia, eu fico toda animada em relação ao bolo de chocolate.
We know it looks so delicious.
A gente sabe que ele aparenta ser delicioso para nós.
Irresistible. We
Irresistível.
really know this.
A gente sabe isso.
And then we also know 4 pieces later, look at the cake is now only half left on the plate, but we look at it now, it looks disgusting now, doesn't it?
E a gente sabe também que 4 pedaços mais tarde, o bolo ali está pela metade no prato e ele é repugnante para nós.
We really understand this.
A gente consegue compreender
But we
isso.
don't pay attention to it. We don't get the learning from it.
Mas a gente não aprende com isso.
That experience is enough to prove emptiness to us.
Essa experiência, ela é suficiente para nos provar a vacuidade.
And that's just attachment.
E também o apego
This is a more subtle delusion.
é uma delusão mais sutil.
So, okay, yesterday we looked at the second level of, so, okay, Buddha teaches then, there are many, the word dependent and independent are massively important in Buddha's philosophy.
Na filosofia budista, as palavras dependente e independente são supremamente importantes.
Another word for that is relationship.
Uma outra palavra para dizer isso é relacionamento.
You know, when we study the Buddhist philosophy in depth, we learn all about the different kinds of ways things relate to each other, the relationships things have with each other.
Então, quando a gente estuda a filosofia budista, a gente analisa durante muito tempo o modo como as coisas se relacionam umas com as outras.
Another way of saying relationship, like I said, is dependent. We don't hear it the same way, but it's the same meaning.
Então, quando a gente ouve relacionamento, significa que as coisas são dependentes, é que a gente não consegue ouvir dessa forma.
So as an example I gave was short and long. That's clear. They have an intimate relationship and you can't have one without the other. Think about it.
O exemplo que ela deu ontem sobre longo e curto, a gente tem que reconhecer que uma coisa não pode existir sem a outra. Vamos pensar sobre isso.
Cause and effect is another kind of relationship.
Causa e efeito é um outro tipo de relacionamento.
So philosophically, Buddha presents 3 different levels of dependent arising.
Então, filosoficamente, o Buda apresenta 3 níveis diferentes de
3 different levels of dependent arising.
Eu esqueci a palavra, gente. Sorry.
You got it?
Dependent arising.
Dependent
Yes.
arising, yeah.
Yes, I just got a blank in my mind.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Originação dependente.
Originação dependente.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's it.
Thank you.
You say origination, do you?
Yes, originação
You say, okay.
dependente.
Arising or originate, arising, or different words they use there. Okay, so the first level is that things things exist or come into existence in dependence upon causes.
Então, no primeiro nível, as coisas existem dependendo de causas.
So this is an argument that Buddha has with one of the prevailing views at the time. One of the arguments he's debating with. One of the views he's debating with, that there can be a permanent, uncaused, unchanging self. No such thing. Not possible, Buddha says.
Então, esse foi um ponto que o Buda debateu na época dele, porque ele não acreditava, ele sabia que não poderia haver algo completamente imutável, sólido e independente.
The next one we discussed a little bit, we went into a bit of detail, and we'll do more about that now, is how that, the self, the I, the example we're using is the phenomenon called I.
Então, a segunda visão, o que a gente debateu um pouco ontem, é sobre esse fenômeno chamado eu.
How this ignorance causes us to believe 100% that there is a little I in there, separate from the other parts.
que a ignorância nos faz acreditar que existe um eu em algum lugar, um pequeno eu separado das outras partes que nos constituem.
An I that's independent of, separate from the hand, the nose, the mind, all the parts that make up the I.
Um eu que é independente, por exemplo, da mão, do nariz, da orelha, das outras partes que constituem o eu. Um eu independente.
We did a little bit of analysis of that.
E separado. A gente fez pouco de análise sobre isso ontem.
By the way, I haven't forgotten Mahamudra.
Mas ela não se esqueceu do Mahamudra.
It's coming.
Já vem por aí.
Okay. This is preparation.
Tudo isso é a preparação.
Okay. So then, of course, we did talk about also the next level, the main one, the actual meaning, the final meaning of dependent arising, which is the proof for emptiness, is that everything exists in dependence upon the mind that calls it that.
Okay, Venerable, please, can you break this down so I don't make any
Yeah,
mistake?
I understand. The final level of the final level and the meaning of dependent arising.
Então, o nível final do significado da originação dependente,
which brings the actual realization of emptiness,
que significa a verdadeira realização da vacuidade,
is the subtlest meaning.
É o significado mais sutil.
That everything exists in dependence upon the mind calling it that.
Que tudo existe uma relação de dependência com o fato de que a mente nomeia o que quer que seja isso.
So in some sense it seems easy, this one, but it's the subtlest meaning and the hardest to realize.
Em alguns níveis isso parece meio simples, mas ele é muito sutil e é o mais difícil de realizar.
I mean, we looked at the letter A, for example.
Por exemplo, se a gente olhar para a letra A.
Or no, even more simple, even more obvious.
Não, ou não, melhor, um exemplo ainda mais
óbvio.
óbvio.
I was looking at the Heart Sutra in Portuguese.
Ela estava agora há pouco olhando o Sutra do Coração em português.
I could recognize some words because they were similar to the English.
E ela conseguiu reconhecer algumas palavras porque elas são semelhantes ao inglês.
And also because I'm familiar with the context.
E também porque ela é familiarizada com o contexto.
But there were some words, no matter how long I looked at those words, the meaning would never come to my mind.
Mas algumas outras palavras, não importa quanto tempo ela ficasse olhando, o significado dessas palavras jamais chegaria à mente dela.
Now we know this, and this is part of our life, but we don't get the learning that Buddha is telling us about that.
A gente sabe isso é parte da nossa mente, mas a gente não aprende com isso, conforme o Buda nos ensinou.
He's saying that this ignorance causes us to believe.
Ele diz que essa ignorância nos provoca, nos leva a acreditar.
That there's something here, out here, separate from me.
Que algo fora de mim, está separado de mim.
Having nothing to do with my mind.
Não tem nada a ver com a minha mente.
It's existing in itself.
Que ele existe de forma própria.
From its own side.
Independentemente.
From its own side.
From its own side, how can I translate that?
No.
I don't know.
There are many synonyms. The main term used here for the mistake that ignorance makes.
Então, o principal sinônimo aqui para o erro que a ignorância provoca
is inherent existence.
É a existência intrínseca,
But
inerente.
There are many inherent.
Inerente.
There are many synonyms.
São sinônimos.
That the thermos exists inherently.
Então, a gente acredita que essa garrafa térmica, ela existe de forma inerente.
That exists intrinsically.
Intrinsecamente.
In and of itself.
Por si mesma.
Self-existent.
Autoexistente.
Independent existence.
Existindo de forma independente.
All these refer to the same thing.
Tudo isso se refere à mesma coisa.
Ignorance in our mind causes everything to appear like that to us.
A ignorância na nossa mente provoca que tudo apareça assim para nós.
And this subtlest one we're talking about, the real meaning.
Então, essa é a mais sutil, a gente está falando sobre o significado real.
Yeah, the Buddha is saying, if that Portuguese word that I couldn't recognize, if that had inherent meaning.
Então, o que o Buda está dizendo? Que aquela palavra em português que a Venerável não consegue reconhecer, se ela tivesse um sentido intrínseco, inerente,
if its meaning was in those letters, regardless of who was looking at it,
se esse sentido estivesse nas letras, independente de quem estivesse olhando,
then the meaning would be evident to everybody who looks at it.
esse sentido estaria evidente para todas as pessoas que olhassem.
If this thermos existed inherently,
E se essa garrafa térmica existisse de forma inerente,
intrinsically,
intrínseca,
independently of the mind of the person who is looking at it,
independentemente da mente da pessoa que está olhando para ela,
if it existed without depending upon the mind of the person looking at it,
se ela existisse sem depender da mente da pessoa que está olhando para ela,
then it would be evident to everybody that it is a thermos.
Então seria evidente para qualquer pessoa, para todas as pessoas, que isso é uma garrafa térmica.
The thing is, we know this so intimately. We know you start off not knowing mathematics, not knowing a language, and then we learn it. So this is proof actually of this emptiness, but we don't get it.
A gente sabe isso intimamente, quer dizer, a gente começa sem saber matemática, quando a gente também tem que aprender uma língua, a gente não conhece essa língua. A gente sabe isso, mas a gente não realiza, não se dá conta disso.
Exactly. So it's what we have to get is the recognition of the truth that nothing exists like that.
O que a gente precisa é obter o reconhecimento da verdade de que coisa alguma existe assim.
So now I think let's take a different approach now and look at this word emptiness, because we get very confused about it.
Então agora vamos por uma outra abordagem, vamos dar uma olhada nessa palavra vacuidade, que ela é um pouco confusa para nós.
Yeah. But if we look into our daily life, it's a concept we understand, an ordinary it's a concept. The simple meaning of it is evident to us.
Mas se a gente olhar para a nossa vida do dia a dia, o significado simples disso vem para nós.
So if I'm about to go to drink from my thermos and I go, oh, it's empty, I'll say. Oh, it's empty, I'll say.
Então, eu vou beber um gole da minha garrafa térmica, do meu chá, e eu olho e falo, tá vazia.
So we know what that means.
Então a gente sabe o que isso significa.
Empty of tea.
Vazia de chá.
It's just, we know that. We know a cup holds tea. So it follows if I say, oh, it's empty, it means there's no tea there.
A gente sabe que uma garrafa, uma xícara segura, né? Sustenta o chá. Então, se a gente vai beber e não tem nada lá dentro, a gente fala, tá vazia.
If I go into my bank to get some money out and I see zero written there, I'll go, oh, no money in the bank. My bank account is empty. My bank account is empty. It means no money.
Então, se a gente for ao banco e chegar lá e não tiver nenhum centavo na conta, a gente vai falar, a minha conta bancária está vazia.
If you look, you're going to some place and there's a party in one room and you rush into the room and you go, the room's empty.
E se você for para algum lugar e dentro de um salão ou de uma sala tiver uma festa, quando você entrar na festa e não tiver ninguém no salão, você vai falar, não tem ninguém, está vazio.
It means it's empty of people.
Vazio de gente.
So we get this.
Isso é fácil de
Now,
entender.
Buddha happens to be telling us that everything is empty.
O que o Buda está falando é que tudo está vazio.
So obviously we have to ask him the question, empty of what, Buddha?
A gente tem que perguntar então, vazio de quê, Buda?
He doesn't mean tea or money or people.
Não quer dizer de chá, nem de dinheiro, nem de pessoas.
He means of inherent existence.
Ele quer dizer vazio de existência inerente.
So it's easy to understand the emptiness of tea.
Então é fácil a gente entender o vazio do chá.
And this is a major point.
Isso aqui é um ponto
Because we know what
importantíssimo.
tea is.
Porque a gente sabe o que é chá.
And we know what people are.
E a gente sabe o que são
And
pessoas.
we know what money is.
E a gente sabe o que é
But
dinheiro.
we haven't got a clue what inherent existence is.
Mas a gente não tem a menor pista sobre o que é essa tal de existência inerente.
So that's why it's confusing to us.
E por isso é confuso para nós.
And we have to ask Buddha, why is he telling us? Excuse me, mate, why are you telling us everything is empty of inherent existence?
Então a gente tem que falar assim para o Buda, desculpe, cara, mas por que você está falando isso para a gente que tudo é vazio de existência inerente?
And this is a really powerful point.
Isso é um ponto muito importante.
If I look into my cup, my thermos, and I go, it's empty.
Se eu olhar para a minha garrafa térmica e falar, ué, tá vazia.
Why would I say that?
Por que eu vou dizer isso?
And this is the point.
E aqui é
Because I'm
importante.
expecting tea.
Porque eu estava esperando encontrar
I
chá.
assumed the existence of tea in my thermos.
Eu supus que haveria chá dentro da minha garrafa térmica.
I assumed the existence of money in my bank.
Eu supus que haveria dinheiro na minha conta bancária.
I assumed the existence of people in the room.
Eu imaginei que eu ia encontrar pessoas eu esperava encontrar pessoas naquela
So
sala.
in this way of understanding, seeing the emptiness of something is always a surprise.
E olhando desse modo, a gente se deparar com o vazio é uma surpresa.
This is a very important point.
Isso é muito importante.
If you go to the supermarket, you go to your department store, and you go to the kitchen section, you don't look at the cups and go, "Oh, they're empty."
Quando a gente vai ao supermercado, por exemplo, uma loja de departamento e vai na seção de louça, a gente olha um monte de xícaras, a gente não fica, estão vazias.
Because you don't expect cups to have tea in them in the shop, do you? It's obvious.
Porque nesse contexto, na loja, você não espera que as xícaras estejam cheias de chá.
So okay, put other words let's put different words onto this word emptiness.
Então vamos atribuir outras palavras para essa ideia de vacuidade.
Absence.
Ausência.
Now, if you're lonely, think about it.
Se você está se sentindo sozinho, solitário,
What you're noticing every day is the absence of a boyfriend.
o que você está reparando todo dia é a ausência de um namorado, por exemplo.
Think about it. It's very obvious, isn't it?
É óbvio, não é?
In that case, you're not assuming there is a boyfriend. You are sort of assuming there should be a boyfriend there. So you always notice the lack of a boyfriend.
É porque você está presumindo que deveria ter um namorado ali, e aí você está sempre reparando na falta do namorado.
Well, let's say, my boyfriend left me let's say my husband leaves me after 20 years, and I've just assumed that Paolo is there every single day. I believe in the presence of Paolo. I expect him to be there. Every time I come home from work, he's always there. My husband of 20 years.
Num outro exemplo, vamos supor, meu marido de 20 anos de casado vai embora um belo dia. Então, eu presumia que eu ia encontrar o Paulo ali todo dia, na hora que eu voltasse do trabalho. Durante 20 anos eu achava que ia encontrar o Paulo todo dia quando eu voltasse.
It's like you assume the presence of tea in your cup. You expect it to be there.
Do mesmo modo que a gente presume, tem a expectativa do chá dentro da
So one day I come home from work and I find a note. I've left you for a younger version.
E de repente eu volto para casa e encontro um bilhetinho. Te deixei por uma versão mais jovem.
I'll get the shock of my life, won't I?
Eu vou tomar o choque da minha vida,
And
na
maybe,
verdade.
and certainly for weeks and months and sometimes forever, I will always be noticing the absence of the husband, absence of Paolo.
E provavelmente, com certeza, pelos próximos dias, semanas, meses e anos, eu vou estar sempre reparando e notando a ausência do meu marido, do Paulo.
Okay, so what Buddha's saying is,
então, o que o Buda está dizendo?
we have believed since beginningless time in the presence of a particular kind of I.
A gente acredita, desde tempos imemoriais, numa presença de um eu particular.
An inherent I.
Um eu inerente.
Self-existent I.
Um eu autoexistente.
An independent I.
Um eu independente.
An intrinsic I.
Um eu intrínseco.
All these words.
Todas essas palavras.
We've believed in it.
A gente acreditou
implicitly for eons.
Há éons a gente acredita nisso.
So what he wants us to do is recognize the absence of it.
E o que o Buda quer é que a gente reconheça a ausência desse eu.
Because in this case of this absence, this emptiness,
porque no caso dessa ausência, dessa vacuidade,
it's a much more radical emptiness.
É uma vacuidade muito mais radical.
Because that I, that inherent I,
porque aquele eu inerente,
that fantasy I,
aquele eu fantasioso,
has never, doesn't and could never exist.
Nunca, não e jamais existirá.
It's a very, but tea, we know tea could exist. People could exist. Money could exist. Rodrigo still could be in the house existing. We know that. But this is the most radical emptiness, the most radical absence.
Então, a gente sabe que o chá poderia existir, que o dinheiro poderia existir, que as pessoas poderiam existir, que o Rodrigo ou o Paulo poderiam existir, mas aqui não, essa é a não existência mais radical.
So, of course, when you discover the emptiness of tea and the emptiness of Paolo and the emptiness of money, you're disappointed.
Então, óbvio que quando a gente descobre a não existência do chá, ou a não existência do dinheiro, ou a não existência do Paulo, a gente fica
But
desapontado.
as Lama Zopa says,
Como diz o Lama
when the
Zopa,
greatest yogis have recognized, have seen nakedly the emptiness of that fantasy eye,
os grandes yogis, eles reconheceram, eles viram de forma nua a não existência desse eu fantasioso.
they're totally blissful.
Eles entraram em êxtase.
Yeah. So get our head around the use of this word emptiness.
Então, a gente está se aproximando dessa ideia de vacuidade.
And what we're showing is it absolutely does not mean nothingness.
E o que a gente está mostrando aqui é que ela absolutamente não significa nada.
It's the worst mistake, the commonest mistake to make when we read Buddha's teachings.
Esse é o erro mais comum que a gente faz quando a gente lê os ensinamentos budistas.
And look at the Heart Sutra.
Pardon me?
Look at the Heart Sutra.
Heart Sutra. Então, vamos olhar o Sutra do Coração.
We can be forgiven for thinking the Buddha's saying there's no I, there's no nothing. Everything says no this, no that, no this. I mean, we have to understand what he's saying.
Então, isso é compreensível que a gente fique assim perplexo, porque no Sutra do Coração, o Buda está dizendo não tem olho, não tem nariz, não tem boca, não tem isso, não tem aquilo. A gente precisa entender o que ele está querendo dizer.
So let's just look at the Heart Sutra for a second.
Então, vamos observar o Sutra do Coração por instante.
Apparently, Buddha gave his teachings in many different ways.
Parece que o Buda ele ensinou de formas diferentes, várias formas.
So the way he gave the Heart Sutra is one example.
E quando a gente analisa o Sutra do Coração, ele é um exemplo.
As it says there, he was sitting there in meditation.
E como diz lá, ele estava sentado em meditação.
And then Shariputra and Avalokitesvara, who was in the 10th level bodhisattva, they were having a conversation.
Então, o Shariputra e o Avalokitesvara, que está no 10º nível de bodhisattva, estavam tendo uma
Having a
conversa.
conversation.
Estavam tendo uma conversa.
Yeah, and basically Buddha was sitting there in single-pointed concentration, and he was channeling his thoughts into the minds of the two disciples.
Então, o Buda estava lá em concentração unifocada, ele estava canalizando os seus pensamentos na mente.
So they were actually speaking Buddha's words. That was Buddha's teaching.
Mas eles, na verdade, estavam falando as palavras do Buda, aquilo era o ensinamento do Buda,
But coming from their mouths.
que estava saindo pela boca deles.
And also, it's interesting, if you've been to Rajgir, if you've been to Vulture Peak, near Rajgir in India, you'll see it's very small.
Então, se você já teve, isso é interessante, em Rajagriha, no Pico da Abutre,
Right on this little hill.
no alto de uma colina.
And then it says, I always wondered, it says in the beginning, it says there was a great host of monks and a great host of bodhisattvas. That sounds like a lot of people, doesn't it?
Então, é engraçado, porque no começo do texto diz que havia uma grande quantidade de monges e uma grande quantidade de bodhisattvas, e parece ser bastante gente.
So I always wondered where they all sat. Because it's very small.
E a Venerável Robina está dizendo que ela não sabe onde é que eles podiam estar sentados, porque o lugar é bem pequeno.
So I asked Geshe Dagpa, our Lama in San Francisco, where do they all sit?
Who did you ask, sorry?
Geshe Dagpa in San Francisco, our teacher there.
Claro. Então, ela perguntou para o Geshe Dampa, em São Francisco, onde é que eles estavam sentados?
And he said, oh, what do you think? In the sky.
E ele respondeu, o que você acha? No céu.
So I like that.
E ela gostou
Okay,
dessa história.
so what's going on in the Heart Sutra?
Então, o que está acontecendo no Sutra do Coração?
Basically, if you've got those English notes that you downloaded, you'll see in the Heart Sutra, I put headings in, and it's quite helpful.
Então, se a gente for observar os textos que ela nos mandou, ela botou anotações sobre o Sutra do Coração, que são muito boas para a gente entender.
It's a list of the different categories of phenomena according to the Buddha's view of the world.
É uma lista de diferentes categorias de fenômeno de acordo com a visão budista do mundo.
The first was the 5 aggregates.
O primeiro são os 5 agregados.
And then there's 3 lots of 6 things. That's the 18 constituents, they call them.
Então tem os 18 constituintes.
No I, no ear, no nose, that one.
essa parte não
So there's
tem
no-
olho, não
There's
nariz,
no
não
I.
tem.
There's no I conscious. There's no consciousnesses. There's no objects of the consciousness, and there's three. Anyway, there's 18 things there related to the senses and the objects of the
São
senses.
18 itens, 18 coisas relacionadas aos sentidos. Não existe olho, não existe a consciência relativa ao olho.
And then the
Por
Four Noble
exemplo,
Truths, the 12 links to dependent arising.
aí tem as 4 nobres verdades e os 12 elos da originação dependente.
That's right. So what it is expressing the experience of a yogi in single-pointed concentration.
Então, o que é isso?
A yogi in single-pointed concentration absorbed in the realization of emptiness.
Então, o que esse texto está relatando? Ele está relatando a experiência de um yogi em concentração unifocada, absorvido na compreensão da vacuidade.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So for that yogi, for that yogi, there's no appearance of anything except the absence of inherent existence.
Então, para esse yogi, não existe nenhuma aparência, a não ser a vacuidade da existência intrínseca. Yes?
Appearance. There's no appearance of anything. You said that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Only so then, and that's of course that's abstract for us. We can't imagine that.
Então, isso é uma coisa muito abstrata para a gente, que é meio difícil da gente imaginar.
So for that yogi, quite literally, there is no eye, no ear, no nose, no this, no that.
Então, para esse yogi, literalmente, não tem olho, nariz, boca, nada disso.
Yeah. But the crucial point I want to make here is to point out in the Heart Sutra where really it shows us how emptiness doesn't mean nothingness.
Mas o ponto principal que ela quer mostrar aqui é que no Sutra do Coração, a vacuidade não quer dizer nada.
Yeah. So the first category of phenomena that Buddha they discuss is the 5 aggregates.
Então, o primeiro fenômeno que o Buda discute são os 5 agregados.
This is from a teaching of the Buddhas where he laid out the different components of a person.
Isso é um ensinamento do Buda, onde ele explicitou quais são os diferentes componentes de uma pessoa.
Of course, there are thousands.
É claro que existem milhares,
But he presented these 5.
mas ele apresentou esses 5.
So in a sense, there's really okay. So there's maybe no time to go into those 5 here, but the meaning of them. But certainly the first one, form, is referring to the physical.
Então, o primeiro dos 5 agregados, a forma, está se referindo à parte física, ao físico.
So, okay, I'll say that. The next 2, form, feeling and recognition. Feeling and discrimination.
A forma.
Form is the first one. And then the next 2, feeling and discrimination, or whatever word you use in Portuguese. I don't know, Nandro, what is it?
I don't know, Nandro. Emoção, sensação
Well, look at
e
the Heart Sutra
discriminação.
and you'll see the words. What are the 2 words for feeling and discrimination?
Não há forma, sensação, reconhecimento.
Okay, so discrimination, they have translated for reconhecimento, like recognizing.
Okay, recognition or discrimination, similar, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the fourth one, how do you call that one in Portuguese?
Volição.
Okay,
Volição.
I get it. Okay, this is very interesting. No. It's actually, okay, this is too complicated. No, it's actually it's compounded phenomena. It's called compounded phenomena. Volition is, compounded phenomena.
Fenômenos compostos.
Yeah. And the 5th one is called consciousness.
E o quinto é
So
chamado
roughly
consciência.
speaking, the first is referring to the physical.
Então, falando de forma genérica, o primeiro está se referindo ao
The next
físico.
2 are referring to 2 of what they call the always present states of mind. Every millisecond, those 2, there are many, but they're 2 of the ones that are happening all the time.
E o segundo está se referindo a dois estados de consciência que a cada milissegundo estão presentes na nossa
And
vida.
Buddha points, okay, there's a text where they describe 51 different states of mind. One learns that when we learn about the mind.
E existe um texto onde eles apresentam 51 diferentes estados da mente, que a gente aprende quando a gente olha para a nossa mente.
And these are 2 of them.
E esses que estão
And he
sendo
pointed them out
mencionados agora,
especially because of their incredibly powerful role in our experience of samsara, in attachment.
e em relação a esses dois, ele aponta para eles dois especialmente porque eles são muito importantes para a gente entender o nosso comportamento.
Now the third one, why they say volition there.
E o terceiro, que se diz volição,
or intention. Another word is intention.
ou intenção,
And that is always there as well.
na verdade, é o quarto.
And
Né?
because it's because
ele também está sempre presente lá.
Right. So because intention is the meaning of karma.
E porque a intenção é o sentido do karma.
Mental action.
A ação mental.
And for some reason the Tibetans call the whole package, it's actually called compounded phenomena. Okay, the whole package, this fourth one, is called compounded phenomena.
Então, todo esse pacote, os tibetanos chamam de fenômenos compostos.
And it's a little bag left over of all the other bits of the mind besides those two.
What do you mean by bag leftover? Sorry.
A bag. It's a little bag of, it's like a miscellaneous drawer or a little bag, a box of leftover things.
Okay.
It's my way of saying it. Of all the leftover impermanent things.
Ok, então mais ou menos como fosse um sacolão, um saco de gatos, vamos dizer assim, de todas as outras coisas que sobraram, coisas miscelâneas sobre a...
In other words, the 49 other different states of mind in that package of 51.
Então, naquele pacote de 51 coisas, 51 itens, 49.
49.
Huh? Okay, there's a text that talks about, I don't want to go into this too much detail. It's too much detail. It's not what my point is, but never mind.
A Venerável está dizendo que ela não vai entrar em tanto detalhe.
But I just want to say it one more time. First, the 5 aggregates. Buddha's presentation of the contents of a person.
Então, os 5 agregados, a apresentação que o Buda faz do conteúdo de uma pessoa.
The impermanent contents of a person.
O conteúdo impermanente de uma pessoa.
First one refers to the physical.
Primeiro é o físico.
Next two, there's a text that's called low rig. There's a text that is called low rig, mind and awareness.
Então, os dois próximos tem texto que se chama de low rig.
Where we learn about the mind. We learn about the mind.
E consciência é o que a gente aprende sobre a nossa mente.
And in that there's a presentation of 51 different states of mind.
E aí existe uma apresentação dos 51 estados diferentes da mente.
We've actually got thousands.
Na verdade, a gente tem milhares.
But these 51 are, you know, as a little package.
Mas esse 51 é como se fosse um pacotinho.
Okay, so the next two,
os próximos dois,
feeling and discrimination,
que são a sensação e o reconhecimento,
are 2 of those 51.
São 2 desses 51.
And they play and Buddha points them out especially because of their powerful role in the way we create our samsara.
E o Buda aponta para eles de uma forma especial devido à importância, ao papel importante que eles têm na nossa criação do samsara.
The fourth of these 51, the fourth of these 5,
e o quarto desses 5
is this little miscellaneous drawer.
É mais ou menos uma miscelânea.
Of all the other bits and pieces of the mind left over, the 49 other ones.
É uma miscelânea das outras 49 itens que ficaram de fora dessa primeira parte.
And another type of phenomenon that we possess, which are impermanent, but are neither body nor mind.
E outros tipos de fenômenos que também nós possuímos, mas que não são nem corpo nem mente.
Compounded phenomena.
Fenômenos compostos.
So it's often referred to as volition by the Tibetans.
E é como se refere à volição pelos tibetanos.
Which is one of the 51.
Que é um dos 51
and
elementos.
It's intention. It's called intention. A better word is intention.
A volição é a intenção.
And it's the meaning of karma.
Como sentido do karma.
Mental action.
Ação mental.
And because of its absolute role in everything we play, everything we do, for whatever reason, the Tibetans call it that one part of the group. They call the group by that name. Don't ask me why.
Então, não perguntem a ela, mas por algum motivo os tibetanos chamam toda essa parte por esse nome, porque ela tem papel fundamental na forma como a gente cria o samsara.
And the fifth one is called consciousness.
E essa se chama consciência.
Which refers to the general mind, mental and sensory consciousness in general.
Então, é a nossa consciência em geral, a nossa mente.
I didn't mean to go into detail because it gets a bit boring, so never mind. So now, the point is this.
Bom, mas o ponto fundamental aqui é esse.
One of the first things Shariputra says, Avalokitesvara says.
Uma das primeiras coisas que Avalokitesvara fala.
Form is emptiness.
A forma é vazia.
No, form is empty.
A forma é vazia.
Form is empty. Emptiness is form.
A vacuidade, o vazio é forma.
Form is nothing other than emptiness,
A forma não é nada além de vazio.
and emptiness is nothing other than form.
Vazio não é nada além da forma.
Okay. Okay. So what he's saying is this.
Então, o que ele está dizendo?
It's a very simple example.
Primeiro exemplo outra vez.
Here's a thermos,
Aqui está a minha
and
garrafa
it possesses
térmica.
a quality of black.
Ela tem a qualidade de ser preta.
So you could say equally, thermos is black,
Então, a gente pode dizer a garrafa térmica é preta.
black is thermos.
Preta é a garrafa térmica.
Thermos is nothing other than black,
A garrafa térmica não é nada além de preta.
and black is nothing other than thermos.
E preta não é nada além da garrafa térmica.
That's a fact.
Isso é um
When you
fato.
find this thermos,
A gente olha para essa garrafa
you will
térmica
find that black color.
e você sabe que ela é
And if you
preta.
point out that black color,
Você aponta para essa cor preta
it has to be right on that thermos.
e ela tem que estar em cima ou bem nessa
So you
garrafa
can't
térmica.
separate black from thermos.
Não tem como separar a cor preta da garrafa térmica.
Okay. Now, think of another phenomenon. Black is a phenomenon.
Então vamos pensar num outro fenômeno, porque preta, a cor preta é um fenômeno.
Emptiness of inherent existence is a phenomenon.
A vacuidade da existência intrínseca é um fenômeno.
If I've just discovered, no, I'll keep it simple. So emptiness, whatever the mind, you see, whatever the mind cognizes,
Qualquer coisa que a mente compreenda,
whatever the mind cognizes,
reconhece,
it always
compreende,
has an object that it cognizes.
ela é um objeto de cognição.
It doesn't mean a physical object.
It
It does not mean a physical object.
não necessariamente um objeto
An
físico.
object, phenomenon, existent, they are terms used to refer to that which exists.
Objeto, fenômeno e existente são termos para se referir a isso.
So the mind always cognizes something that exists.
A mente sempre reconhece alguma coisa que existe.
So emptiness of tea, okay?
Então, o vazio de chá, ou a
A
vacuidade
similar
de chá,
example. Thermos is emptiness of tea.
is emptiness.
Yes, of tea. We just discussed
Yes.
before emptiness of tea, okay? Thermos
Yes.
is emptiness of tea.
Então, a garrafa térmica é a vacuidade de chá.
And emptiness of tea is thermos.
E a vacuidade de chá é a garrafa térmica.
All it's saying is if you have a thermos,
O que ele está dizendo é, se você tem uma garrafa térmica
which possesses the absence of tea,
que tem a ausência de chá,
the phenomenon called the emptiness of tea,
o fenômeno chamado ausência
whatever
de
the
chá,
mind cognizes is a phenomenon.
qualquer coisa que a mente reconhece é um
If there
fenômeno.
is tea in my thermos,
Se houver chá na minha
my
garrafa,
mind cognizes the phenomenon called tea.
a minha mente reconhece o fenômeno chamado chá.
If I'm expecting tea and I discover there's no tea, then the phenomenon my mind cognizes is the emptiness of tea.
E se eu estou esperando encontrar chá e eu não encontro chá algum, a minha mente reconhece esse fenômeno da vacuidade de chá.
So there is a thermos,
Aí existe uma garrafa.
and if there's a thermos,
Se existe uma garrafa,
right there will also exist the emptiness of tea.
bem ali existe também o vazio de chá.
And if there's a phenomenon called the emptiness of tea,
E se existe um fenômeno chamado vazio
you
do
can
chá,
find it nowhere but in the thermos.
você não pode encontrar em nenhum outro lugar a não ser na garrafa.
So wherever you find form,
Então, aonde você encontra a
you will
forma,
find the emptiness of form,
você vai encontrar
the
a
emptiness of
vacuidade da
inherent form,
forma.
the emptiness of inherent form.
A vacuidade da forma inerente.
And wherever you find the emptiness of inherent form,
E aonde você encontra a vacuidade da forma inerente,
that is a characteristic that exists right on the form.
essa é uma característica que existe na forma.
So emptiness of inherent form
Então, a vacuidade da forma
is
inerente
nothing other than form.
não é nada além da forma.
And form
E a forma
is nothing other than emptiness of inherent form.
não é nada além da vacuidade de forma
In other words,
inerente.
really simply,
É muito
emptiness
simples
of form doesn't mean no form.
que a vacuidade de forma não quer dizer
It means
não
emptiness
forma.
of inherent form.
é a vacuidade da forma inerente.
And emptiness of inherent form has to exist somewhere.
E a vacuidade da forma inerente, ela tem que existir em algum lugar.
Nothing other than on the very form that does exist conventionally.
Mas em nenhum outro lugar além da forma que existe de forma
If you
convencional,
say,
de modo convencional.
oh, there's no tea,
Então, não tem chá.
and I'll say, where is there no tea?
Aonde está o não chá?
Where is there no tea? Answer my question,
Onde
Claudia.
está?
Where is there no tea?
I should answer.
Yeah, you answer me, because I can speak to you. Anybody
No,
answer.
no.
Where is
No,
there
no.
no tea?
In the thermos.
Thank you. Perfect answer.
O não chá está na garrafa.
So we think, oh, there's no I, so throw the baby out with the bathwater and, commit suicide because there's no I.
Então a gente pensa, né, enganadamente, então não tem olho, então, não tem eu, então a gente joga o bebê fora com a água da bacia.
I think enough squeezing the brain. We should have a 5-minute break, okay? Okay, so what I'm trying to point out is this, and we'll go into it we'll kind of discuss in a different way now. I'm trying to point out that emptiness doesn't mean nothing. It's very simple.
Tá, então a gente vai por um outro caminho. A Venerável vai agora ela quer mostrar que a vacuidade não quer dizer nada.
Yeah. So these two truths is a very powerful way to see it in the way that those lines in the Heart Truth tell us.
Então, essas duas verdades, elas são um modo muito benéfico da gente compreender esses dois versos que estão no Sutra do Coração.
Yeah. See, I find it very helpful, this idea, that the way the mind functions, the mind always cognizes something.
Então, o modo como a nossa mente funciona, ela sempre reconhece alguma coisa.
Whatever level of mind we've got, sensory, mental,
qualquer nível de mente que a gente esteja falando, sensorial, mental,
subtle level, gross level,
nível sutil, nível grosseiro.
Whenever mind is functioning,
sempre que a mente está funcionando,
it's cognizing something.
Ela está reconhecendo alguma coisa.
They refer to mind like a subject.
Então,
like
a gente se refere à mente como sujeito.
And it always has an object.
E esse sujeito tem sempre um objeto.
Lamia, she talks about it in the Mahamudra book.
E no livro de Mahamudra, de autoria do Lama ele fala sobre
this
isso.
is a very tasty way to understand how the mind functions.
E ele mostra de uma forma muito saborosa como a nossa mente funciona.
Mind functions like a mirror.
A mente, ela funciona como um espelho.
This is not how we think, obviously.
E isso não é como a gente costuma pensar.
It reflects whatever is there.
A mente, ela reflete o que quer que esteja ali.
So clearly, if the mirror is clean,
é claro que se essa mente, esse espelho está limpo,
it will reflect accurately whatever's there.
Ele vai refletir de forma precisa o que está ali.
But if the mirror is dirty,
mas se o espelho estiver sujo,
whatever is reflected, whatever the object is, will be reflected in a wrong way.
Qualquer que seja o objeto, ele vai ser refletido de uma forma equivocada.
This is a very clear analogy.
É uma analogia muito clara.
If there's a body of water completely still,
se a gente vê uma quantidade de água completamente parado,
and the trees on the bank of the river will be reflected accurately in the water, won't they?
E essas árvores que estão na beira, na margem do rio, elas vão ser refletidas de forma perfeita pela água.
But if the water is turbulent,
mas se a água estiver turbulenta,
the trees will look all crooked.
As árvores vão ficar todas tortas, deformadas.
So that's all we're doing is seeing the reflections. In a life, everything we see is a reflection.
E tudo que a gente faz na nossa vida é olhar para esses reflexos.
This is why in Buddhism, mind is not just some extra thing. It's absolutely central to the entire universe.
Por isso que a mente do Buda não é uma coisa extra, ela é central para o universo.
Yeah. Mind is always cognizing something out there, reflecting back to it.
A mente está sempre reconhecendo alguma coisa que está ali e refletindo de volta para ela.
As Lama Zopa says, everything out there appears back to us.
Como diz o Lama Zopa, tudo que está lá fora, exterior, aparece de volta para nós.
In the aspect of whatever is in our mind.
Aparece de volta para nós com o aspecto do que quer que esteja dentro da nossa mente.
So we can only see out there what's in our mind. We can only see according to what's in our mind.
A gente só consegue ver o que está fora de acordo com a nossa própria mente.
This is so evident.
Isso é evidente.
You know, there could be $1,000 note
Você pode encontrar uma nota de
on the
$1.000
table,
na sua mesa
and you're staring at it.
e você está olhando para ela.
Your eyes are seeing that shape and color.
Seus olhos estão olhando aquela forma, aquela
But
cor.
because there's no part of your mind that recognizes, that knows that what it is,
Mas como não há nenhuma parte da sua mente que reconhece, que sabe o que é aquilo,
you don't see $1,000. It's obvious. It's
você
so
não
obvious.
você não vê $1.000, é óbvio.
So Buddha's saying we made up the whole universe.
E o Buda diz que nós criamos todo o nosso universo assim.
So anyway, the point I'm getting at here is this.
O ponto que ela está querendo chegar é o seguinte.
Mind always cognizes something.
A mente, ela sempre reconhece algo.
So if there is tea in my cup,
Então, se há chá dentro da
the
garrafa,
object I'm cognizing is tea.
o objeto que eu estou reconhecendo é o chá.
If there is no tea in my cup,
Se não existe chá dentro
and
da
I'm
garrafa,
expecting tea,
e eu estou esperando encontrar chá,
then the object I am cognizing is a vivid, clear object of my mind. It's called the absence of tea, the emptiness of tea.
então, nesse caso, o objeto que eu estou reconhecendo é um objeto claro e vívido na minha mente, é a ausência de chá.
It's a real phenomenon that does exist
É um fenômeno que existe
for the mind of the person who expects tea.
para a mente da pessoa que estava esperando o chá.
So Buddha says we've been believing in, for eons, believing in a fantasy I.
Então, o Buda diz, nós estamos há éons acreditando num eu fantasioso.
An I that actually doesn't exist.
Um eu que simplesmente não existe.
But we believed in it for so long
Mas a gente acredita nele há tanto tempo
that it appears to us to exist.
que ele aparece para nós como existente.
And believing in that fantasy I
E porque nós acreditamos nesse eu
is the
fantasioso,
root of every moment of suffering of every living being in the universe since beginningless time.
a gente experiencia esse sofrimento que todos os seres sencientes compartilham desde o início dos tempos.
It gives rise to all the other lies,
E isso dá origem, nascimento a todas as outras mentiras.
attachment to get what that fantasy I wants,
Apego àquilo que esse eu fantasioso
the
deseja.
anger and the panic when it doesn't get what it wants,
Raiva e pânico quando ele recebe o que ele não quer.
and all the other thousands of nonsense states of mind.
E todas as outras 1000 maluquices estados doidos da nossa
They're
mente.
all lies
Tudo isso é mentira.
that cognize things that don't exist.
É reconhecer coisas que não existem.
And this is why we suffer.
E isso é por causa disso que nós
So
sofremos.
Buddha's solution to the cessation of suffering,
Então, a solução do Buda para a cessação do sofrimento
see that there never has been, isn't, and never could be that I.
é que nunca houve, não existe e nunca existirá esse eu.
So the two truths.
Então, as duas verdades
Conventionally, there is an I
é que eventualmente existe um eu
that does exist
que existe,
in dependence upon various factors.
que existe em dependência de vários fatores.
So that will prove to us the final truth,
Então, isso prova para a gente a verdade final,
that there isn't an I that isn't an I that exists independently of various factors.
que não existe um eu que exista de forma independente de vários fatores.
There is an I that does exist in dependence upon various factors.
Existe um eu que existe, há um eu que existe em dependência de
And
diversos
this
fatores.
proves that there isn't an I that exists that doesn't depend upon factors.
Isso prova que não existe um eu que não dependa de diversos fatores.
Shorthand for this one, emptiness.
Então, essa mão é a vacuidade.
Shorthand for this one, dependent arising.
Então, aqui é a originação dependente e aqui a vacuidade.
So, as Lama Zopa says,
Então, como diz o Lama Zopa,
when we have realized the emptiness of that fantasy I,
quando a gente reconhece ou realiza a vacuidade desse eu fantasioso,
when we have realized that there never has been, isn't, and never could be that fantasy I,
e quando a gente realiza que nunca existiu, não existe, jamais existirá esse eu fantasioso,
when we have seen nakedly the emptiness of it,
quando a gente viu de forma nua a vacuidade dele,
the absence of it,
a ausência dele,
the lack of it,
a falta dele,
that I isn't there,
que esse eu não está ali,
when we realize that,
quando a gente realiza isso,
it's as if there's no I.
é como se não houvesse esse eu.
But there is an I.
Mas existe um
But
eu.
what does exist
O que existe?
is so subtle,
É muito sutil.
it's as if it doesn't exist.
É como se não existisse.
When we have these two,
Mas a gente tem esses dois.
we have the middle way.
E a gente tem um caminho do meio.
That's the real meaning of the middle way.
Esse é o sentido do caminho do meio.
Dependent arising and emptiness together.
É a união da originação dependente
So
e da
right now
vacuidade.
we have the two extreme views.
Agora a gente está entre esses dois extremos.
When we hear emptiness,
Quando a gente escuta
we
vacuidade,
throw the baby out with the bathwater. Do you have that in Portuguese?
yes.
Okay. You
Yes.
throw the baby out with
You-
the bathwater.
Então, quando a gente ouve a palavra vacuidade, a gente joga o bebê junto com a água do
Nihilism.
banho.
Nihilism.
Ah,
Nihilism.
nihilismo.
There's no I.
Não tem eu, não
Nothing,
existe o
there's
eu.
no anything.
Não existe nada.
Nothing matters.
Nada importa.
That's the commonest mistake.
Esse é o erro mais comum.
And it is the worst mistake.
E é o pior
Yeah.
erro.
Yeah. Then when we hear that something does exist, dependent arising,
Mas aí, quando a gente ouve a originação dependente, que alguma coisa de fato existe,
so here we under exaggerate.
aqui a gente exagera para menos.
Here now we over exaggerate.
Aqui a gente exagera para mais.
When we hear that there is an I, this dependent arising I,
Então, quando a gente ouve falar desse eu, que é da originação
we
dependente,
say, oh, thank God, we grasp. There must be something after all.
aleluia, então a gente se agarra a isso, tem que existir alguma coisa no fim das contas.
We run between like these two extremes like mad people all day.
Então a gente fica que nem uma pessoa louca correndo entre esses dois extremos o dia
Exactly.
todo.
And even emotionally,
E até mesmo
this is
emocionalmente.
how we are. Emotionally, when everything's going beautifully,
Então, emocionalmente, quando essa coisa está
the
indo bem,
attachment
está
is
bonita,
getting what it wants.
e a gente está conseguindo o que a gente quer,
We grasp at it and see it as permanent and eternal and forever.
a gente se agarra nessa coisa e a gente acredita que ela é permanente, vai durar para sempre.
That's the one extreme view.
Essa é um dos extremos de visão.
And then the other extreme view we have, the nihilism one,
E a outra visão extremada,
the nihilism one.
que é a nihilista,
Yeah. Then we would have thrown the baby out. Nothing's worthwhile. Everything's a disaster. Might as well kill myself.
tudo é um terror, a gente joga o bebê junto fora com a água do banho, eu posso até me matar.
This is attachment and aversion.
E isso nada mais é do que apego e aversão.
Experientially, we understand this.
A gente consegue compreender isso de forma experiencial.
These are the symptoms of these two extreme views.
São os sintomas dessas duas visões
They're
extremadas.
not reality.
Não são a realidade.
No wonder we're crazy.
E não é à toa que a gente está doido.
Yeah, exactly. So as His Holiness says,
Como diz Sua Santidade Dalai Lama,
he says, the I isn't empty because you can't find it,
Dalai Lama, ele costuma dizer, o eu não é vazio porque você não consegue encontrá-lo.
Now you won't find it,
Você não vai
but that's not
encontrar.
the real premise.
Mas essa não é a premissa verdadeira.
The I is empty
O eu é vazio
because it's a dependent arising.
por causa da originação dependente.
So when you realize, when you've think of this ordinary example again. Think of ordinary example of the tea.
Vamos pensar de novo no exemplo do chá.
Think of the example of you're colorblind and you think this black is pink.
Vamos pensar que a gente tem daltonismo e a gente acha que esse preto é rosa.
Think about this.
Vamos pensar um pouco sobre
Your
isso.
mind's making a mistake.
A sua mente está fazendo um erro.
It's seeing something that doesn't exist.
Ela está vendo alguma coisa que não existe.
So this is an easy thing to fix, it's your eyes.
Então, isso é uma coisa fácil de consertar o seu olho.
So we fix your eyes.
A
We
gente-
fix your
a gente pode-
eyes.
A gente pode consertar o nosso
And we
olhar.
present again the black thermos. Because all the time in your life you've seen it as pink, okay?
Então, vamos lá. Agora a gente vai olhar essa garrafa como preta. A vida inteira a gente
Yeah.
encarou ela como
So
rosa.
now your eyes are fixed
Então, seu olho consertou
and we present the black thermos to you.
e a gente apresenta a garrafa preta para você.
So the thing that you will cognize first
A primeira coisa que você vai reconhecer,
with the shock.
o choque que você
Oh
vai
my God,
tomar.
it's not pink, you'll say.
Meu Deus, isso não é rosa.
Because your mind, remember, is expecting pink.
Porque a sua mente estava esperando ver rosa.
And if I'm expecting tea, I get a shock when there's no tea.
Então, quando eu estou esperando chá, encontrar o chá, eu tenho um choque quando eu não
If I'm
encontro chá nenhum.
expecting money in the bank, I get a shock if there's no money.
Então, quando eu vou ao banco e não encontro dinheiro, eu estava esperando dinheiro, eu tomo um choque porque eu não recebi,
So I'm
não achei dinheiro.
expecting pink, I get a shock because my eyes are fixed because there's no pink.
Então, como eu sempre esperava que fosse rosa, na hora que meu olho é consertado e eu enxergo
So
preto, eu tomo um choque.
the first realization
Essa é a primeira realização.
is the absence of pink.
A primeira realização
You
é a
won't find
ausência.
pink there. There's no pink there.
A primeira realização é a ausência da cor rosa. Você não vai encontrar o rosa lá, não tem rosa nenhuma ali.
But using as an analogy that point that His Holiness said,
Mas usando como uma analogia ao que a Sua Santidade
the
falou,
cup isn't empty of pink because you can't find pink.
a garrafa, a xícara, ela não é ausente de rosa porque você não
And you
pode
can't
encontrar
find
rosa.
pink.
Embora você não possa encontrar o
But that's
rosa.
not the real premise.
Mas essa não é a premissa real.
The real premise is
A real premissa é
this cup is empty of pink
a garrafa é
because
vazia
it's
de
black.
rosa porque ela é preta.
So there's not nihilism.
Então não existe niilismo.
Okay. Of course, we have to squeeze our brains to think all this stuff through.
É claro que a gente tem que espremer o nosso cérebro para pensar sobre tudo isso.
And it is necessary.
E isso é muito necessário.
Now, the irony is, let's just talk about Mahamudra now.
Então vamos falar um pouco sobre Mahamudra agora.
It sounds so exciting.
É muito excitante.
Lama says, no theory, no philosophy, no dharma, no good, no bad. It sounds, oh, wow, lovely, I love that.
Então o Lama fala, não tem dharma, não tem bom, não tem mal, não tem teoria. Aí você pensa,
So
nossa, que maravilha.
So this approach actually sounds simple,
É uma coisa que soa muito simples.
but actually the person who really can do it properly is only the person who's done all the previous work, like what we're talking about.
Mas a pessoa que pode praticar isso de forma correta é apenas a pessoa que fez todo aquele trabalho prévio.
So as Lama talks about, okay, so what Mahamudra is, as I said before, the very beginning, the word Sanskrit, great seal. It's referring to the word emptiness.
Então, o que é Mahamudra? Como a Venerável falou antes, a palavra Mahamudra, em sânscrito, ela se refere a grande selo. Esse grande selo se refere à vacuidade.
It's a meditation method for realizing emptiness.
É um método de meditação para se realizar a vacuidade.
Very simply, it's this.
E simples, de maneira
It's
simples,
using
é
the two
isso.
modes of meditation,
Existem dois modos de meditação:
concentration and insight.
concentração e insight.
So in the first method of concentration, you use the mind. You don't use the breath, or you don't use the visualization of the Buddha as your object of meditation. You use your mind itself.
No primeiro modo, a concentração, você não usa o Buda, nem você usa a sua respiração. Você usa a mente em si mesma.
Yeah. And Rama talks a lot in his book about how particularly marvelous that the mind is because it's so powerful and so subtle. It's a very special object to focus on.
E o Lama fala muito nesse livro como a mente é maravilhosa, porque ela é tão sutil, ela é tão ampla, e é muito bom você poder focar na mente nessa prática.
So the first mode of meditation, concentration,
Então, a primeira parte da meditação,
you
concentração,
learn to focus on your mind.
você vai focar na sua mente.
And we'll do a bit of this before we finish this afternoon. We
Pardon
will
me?
do a bit of this before we finish this
A gente
afternoon.
vai praticar um pouco disso antes de acabar hoje à tarde.
Okay. So you, first of all, because the mind's so scattered for most of us, you have to just take whatever pops up in your mind. You just decide, I'm going to concentrate on whatever pops up in my mind.
Então, como a nossa mente ela fica toda cheia de agitação e espalhada, muitos pensamentos, a gente vai escolher o que quer que se manifeste na nossa mente. A gente vai se concentrar nisso.
There's no discussion with the thoughts.
Não, você não vai discutir com o seu pensamento.
There's no wishing they'd go away.
Você não vai querer que eles vão embora.
Whatever pops up in your mind.
O que se apresentar na sua mente,
You use the discipline to pay attention to that.
você vai usar a sua disciplina para prestar atenção nisso.
So inevitably, as if we're good meditators, hopefully the mind begins to settle.
Então, se nós formos bons meditadores, esperançosamente, a nossa mente começa a assentar, a
So
estabilizar.
eventually the object of concentration becomes what they refer to as the clarity of the mind.
E, eventualmente, o objeto de meditação se transforma aquilo que eles se referem como a claridade da
This is
mente.
said to be its conventional nature.
I didn't get it,
This
sorry.
is said to be its conventional nature.
Que é dito que é a natureza convencional da mente.
So, and this is quite subtle actually.
E isso é algo muito
Yeah.
sutil,
So we do our best.
mas a gente faz o que
So
pode.
then what you do to get to do the insight mode of meditation
Então, o que você faz para ir para o modo de insight, da meditação do insight?
you stay on the mind. You never waver from paying attention to the mind.
Você se mantém com essa atenção na sua mente, você nunca solta a sua atenção da sua mente.
But as Panchen Lama, whose text it is, this 17th century Panchen Lama, whose text Lama Yeshe was, the classic text we use in the Gelugpa tradition for our understanding of Mahamudra. In that text,
Mas então, como no texto do século XVII, que o Panchen Lama apresentou e que o Lama Yeshe usa para ensinar o Mahamudra, então,
and we use this text in the Gelugpa tradition for
e
Mahamudra.
se usa esse texto na tradução Gelugpa.
So you then conjure a very subtle wisdom out of the corner of your eye. Subtle. You conjure up a very subtle wisdom.
But conjure.
Activate.
Você ativa uma sabedoria muito sutil.
Your main focus is on the mind.
O seu foco principal é na mente.
Like when you're driving on the freeway or driving on a road.
Que nem quando a gente está dirigindo na
Your
estrada.
main focus is exactly everything in front of you, isn't it? Otherwise you'd die.
Você está completamente focado em tudo que está na sua frente, senão você
But
morre.
you can't help but notice everything around, can you?
Mas você não deixa
It's
de
like
prestar
out of the
atenção
corner
em
of your eye, you're noticing the other things. Out of the corner of your eye, we say.
como se fosse pelo canto do olho, você está vendo todas as outras coisas que
Well, that's
estão
what you're doing
acontecendo.
here.
Então é o que você faz
You
aqui.
keep your attention on the breath.
Você mantém a sua atenção.
And then there's subtle wisdom.
E aí tem essa sabedoria sutil.
And the wonderful way that Panchen Lama says it is, like a small fish in a pond of water, moving about without disturbing the water.
Então, uma forma maravilhosa que o Panchen Lama fala é como um peixe minúsculo se movendo num corpo de água sem perturbar a água.
So, of course, this is implying quite an advanced meditation experience, because our minds are really chaotic most of the time.
É claro que a gente está falando aqui de uma meditação muito avançada, porque normalmente a nossa mente é muito agitada.
And what that subtle wisdom is trying to do,
e o que essa sabedoria sutil está tentando fazer,
like that small fish without disturbing the mind,
assim como esse peixe pequenininho que não perturba a água
is checking on how the ego appears.
Ela está observando, checando, supervisionando como que o ego aparece.
We're trying to catch the ego.
tentando pegar o ego.
In the sutra teachings, Buddha's, in the sutra teachings is a classical way of meditating on emptiness.
Nos ensinamentos do sutra tem ensinamentos clássicos sobre
So
esse
in the general Lamrim teachings,
em geral nos ensinamentos de
which is the
Lamrim,
approach we've been taking so far.
é essa abordagem que a gente fez até agora.
And there's a type of meditation called the 4-point analysis
E tem um tipo de meditação que se chama a análise de 4 pontos
to realize emptiness.
para realizar a
And the
vacuidade.
first, the most important,
E o primeiro e mais importante,
if we hear Buddha tell us there's no inherent I,
se a gente ouve o Buda dizer que não existe um eu inerente,
we hear Buddha tell us that we believe in an inherent I,
a gente ouve o Buda dizer que a gente acredita num eu inerente,
but it's not enough for us just to believe Buddha. Oh, there's no I. We've been believing in it for eons, so the habit's very deep.
então isso não é o suficiente para a gente acreditar instantaneamente no Buda, porque a gente vem há muitos séculos e tempos imemoriais acreditando no eu.
So we've got to prove it to ourselves that there is no
Então,
inherent I.
A gente precisa provar para si mesmo que não existe esse eu inerente.
So the Buddha, this 4-point analysis, the first point is we have to be able to recognize exactly what we think this ridiculous I is.
Então o primeiro ponto, a gente tem que reconhecer de forma precisa o que a gente acredita que esse eu ridículo é.
We have to recognize how it appears to us,
A gente tem que reconhecer o modo como ele aparece para a gente.
how it feels.
Como é a sensação,
And
como
this is the
a gente
hardest
sente.
this is the hardest point. This is the most subtle.
Esse é o ponto mais difícil, é muito sutil.
So the fact is, if something does exist,
E o fato é o seguinte, se alguma coisa de fato existe,
you have to find it.
você tem que encontrá-la.
So if you're going to search for something that you think exists,
Se você tem que procurar por alguma coisa,
you have to be very precise in describing it to yourself.
você tem que ser muito preciso ao descrever para si
This is
mesmo.
a huge point.
Isso é muito importante.
Like I said before, if I say to you, go and get my $1,000 note on the dining room table.
Então é a mesma coisa sobre aquele exemplo da nota de $1.000 em cima da mesa de jantar.
But you wouldn't have a clue about what $1,000 is.
Você não ia ter a menor ideia do que é um.
You've
do que são
never heard of
$1.000.
such an item.
Você nunca ouviu falar num item
And there's
desse.
thousands of bits of paper on my table, on the dining room table.
E tem milhares de pedaços de papel em cima da mesa.
If you don't know what it is you're looking for,
Se você não sabe pelo que você está procurando,
how could you ever find it?
como é que você pode achar
Or
isso?
how would you ever know if it's not there?
Ou, de outra forma, como você pode saber que isso não está lá?
So this is what's so difficult.
É por isso que é tão
Even though
difícil.
Buddha's telling us there is no inherent I,
Mesmo que o Buda diga para a gente que não existe um eu inerente,
we believe there is.
a gente continua
So the
acreditando
first step
nele.
is we have to recognize, they call the object to be negated.
Então, a primeira coisa, o primeiro passo, a gente tem que reconhecer esse objeto a ser negado.
We have to have a vivid feeling of how the I feels.
A gente tem que ter essa apreensão vívida de como esse eu se sente.
So most of our daily life, we never notice.
Porque na nossa vida diária, a gente nunca repara.
The inherent I is like a kind of, is like a sleeping lion. The ego grasping is like a sleeping lion.
Nosso apego ao eu, né? Nossa fixação no eu
And
é
we
como um
know,
leão.
we know that only when people insult us or nearly run us over on the freeway, that's when the sense of I rises up and has a panic attack.
Então, a nossa fixação no ego, ela é como um leão dormindo. A gente só conhece ela quando alguém nos ofende, quando alguém nos corta a fila, e aí ele se levanta, né? E a gente pode ver.
That's what we have to notice.
É isso que a gente tem que observar.
That moment is a brilliant moment.
Esse momento é um momento brilhante.
To watch, to have the, Lama Yeshe was wonderful in the book, you'll see, in the Mahamudra, he refers to that wisdom that's going to be looking in your meditation. He calls it the mindfulness fish.
Então, o Lama Yeshe, no livro, vocês vão ver, Ensinamento de Mahamudra, ele chama esse peixinho, o peixinho da atenção plena. Esse peixinho que a gente está tentando observar da sabedoria.
Wonderful kind of colloquial phrase,
É uma frase muito linda e coloquial.
So your mindfulness fish is watching the whole time. So often they say when you start to, if you want to, forget Mahamudra, but in an ordinary meditation, when you want to do the 4-point analysis,
Então, esquece o Mahamudra agora. Mesmo na meditação comum, a gente quer fazer esses quatro pontos de análise.
And the first of the 4 points is to recognize what you think the I is.
E o primeiro ponto é você reconhecer o que você acha que é o eu.
Recognize how the I appears.
Reconhecer como ele se apresenta.
It's good to recall being insulted, offended, run over by the car.
Então é bom a gente se lembrar do momento que a gente foi ofendido,
To remember that experience.
A gente rememorar essa experiência.
And that mindfulness fish can catch it, you know.
E aí esse peixinho da atenção plena, ele pode pegar isso.
This is the hardest point.
Esse é um ponto mais
Because as
difícil.
Lama says in Mahamudra,
Como o Lama fala no
when you
Mahamudra,
have finally recognized exactly what you think the I is,
quando você finalmente reconhece o que você pensa que é o eu,
that second you will realize the emptiness of it.
nesse segundo você realiza a vacuidade dele.
So Mahamudra is like a very sophisticated, direct, experiential way to do the process that we were kind of squeezing our brains on before.
Então, o Mahamudra é um modo experiencial muito sofisticado para a gente fazer exatamente o que a gente estava apertando o nosso cérebro antes para entender.
You focus on the mind.
Você focaliza a sua
When your
mente,
mind's a bit steady,
a mente está estável,
you conjure this wisdom, this subtle wisdom, this mindfulness fish.
você conjura, né? Invoca essa sabedoria, que é esse peixinho da atenção plena,
Watching the mind,
e ele fica olhando a sua mente.
trying to catch the way ego grasping, catch the fantasy eye, the way it appears to your ego grasping.
Para pegar o modo como esse eu fantasioso aparece, para pegar essa fixação ao ego no momento que ele aparece.
That's really Mahamudra.
Isso é Mahamudra.
Yeah. So, sounds easy.
Parece fácil.
But if you've never heard of the mind, if you don't know what the mind is, you don't know any delusions, then how could you do it? You'll go crazy. As Lama Yeshe says, many people go to meditate and end up in the psychiatric hospital.
Mas se você não sabe o que é a mente, se você não sabe o que é a vacuidade, e se você começa a fazer esse tipo de prática, você pode até enlouquecer, como diz o Lama Yeshe. Algumas pessoas vão meditar e acabam no hospital.
So the two methods, as Panchen Lama points out, there are two methods for realizing emptiness.
Então, como o Panchen Lama aponta, existem dois métodos para...
One is the method we talked about first.
Qual foi o método que a gente falou
Learn all
primeiro?
the words. Learn all the words.
Aprender todas as
Learn the
palavras,
theories.
aprender todas as
Squeeze your
teorias,
brain,
trabalhar o
as
cérebro,
Lama Yeshe says.
como diz o Lama
Lots of
Yeshe.
analysis, lots of debating,
Monte de análise, monte de debate.
and then you gradually get the experience.
E aí, gradualmente, você vai adquirindo a
Now,
experiência.
think about learning music, to play Bach.
Então, a gente quer tocar bar, a gente quer aprender
That's
música.
exactly how we learn to play Bach.
É exatamente assim que a gente aprende a tocar.
You learn all
uma
the
peça de
amazing,
Bach.
you learn all the theories. You squeeze your brain with all those incredible, sophisticated theories.
Então, você lê e você pensa sobre aquelas teorias sofisticadas,
And then
incríveis.
you have to think about it to make it coherent for your mind.
Você precisa pensar sobre aquilo para isso se tornar coerente na sua
And
mente.
then you experience the music on the piano.
E aí você experiencia a música no piano.
That's our method for learning everything.
Esse é o nosso método para aprender qualquer coisa.
Same. So here, emptiness, same.
É o mesmo com a
Now,
vacuidade.
look at the Mahamudra approach.
Agora vamos olhar a abordagem do Mahamudra.
So the first one, Panchen Lama says, is you do the theories and then you get the experience.
A primeira parte, o Panchen Lama fala, você aprende a teoria e você consegue a experiência.
But Mahamudra is the opposite.
Mas o Mahamudra é o
You
contrário
get the
disso.
experience and
Você
then,
vai
and
para a
then, and then, and
experiência
then you understand.
e aí você compreende.
That's like no theory, you go to the piano, you put your hands on and you attempt to experience the Bach's music. Look how advanced that is.
Então vamos ver como isso é vasto. É como se, no exemplo do piano, você não estudou nenhuma teoria e você chega no piano, coloca a sua mão nas teclas e você vai tocar Bach. Agora,
So in the end we do both, you know.
a gente pode fazer os dois.
Just to go into the mind, throw out the theories,
A gente pode ir para a mente, jogar, vamos dizer assim, desconsiderar as teorias.
and Lama Yeshe says that Lama, especially his Lamieshe said in the book that this is Tsongkhapa's approach, and that Tsongkhapa really praises this approach because the mind as an object of concentration is so tasty, so special.
Então, Lamaeshe diz no livro que essa é a abordagem de Tsongkhapa, e Tsongkhapa ele ressalta que a mente como um objeto ela é tão saborosa, ela é tão rica.
Any questions before we have a break?
Alguma pergunta antes do intervalo?
Many people. We have 7 people. The first one is Pedro Frade.
Okay, good, Pedro. Talk to me.
Pedro. So, Pedro, are you there? Você está aí, Pedro?
Yes, I'm here.
Good.
I was on mute.
Good, Pedro. Talk to me.
Hi, Venerable.
Hello.
I have a question for you.
Good, darling.
Okay, so if everything only exists in dependence upon the mind, naming it, has the mind inherent existence, or the mind is the only thing that actually exists?
I understand.
Pedro, por favor, você pode perguntar em português?
Sim.
Obrigada.
Should I?
In Portuguese, yes.
Em português?
Yeah.
Okay. Se a mente, se tudo só existe em dependência da mente nomear essa coisa. A mente, de fato, a mente também, a mente existe de forma inerente ou a mente é a única coisa que, de fato, existe?
Okay, so inherent, so you're suggesting that the mind could be the only thing that's inherent. So you mean the mind exists without depending on somebody labeling it? That's what you're saying.
Então, o que você está sugerindo é que a mente existiria sem que alguém nomeasse, desse nome a ela.
That's what inherent means. It doesn't depend upon the mind labeling. So it does exist from its own side, you're saying.
Então, e é isso que inerente significa, ela não depende de ser nomeada por ninguém, nem por nada.
If it doesn't depend upon the mind, if it's not merely labeled, that also means it doesn't have any parts, it doesn't exist in dependence upon its parts, and that would also mean even the simplest level of dependent arising, that it doesn't depend upon causes. Well, the Buddha would say that nothing, absolutely nothing can exist like that. That's insanity. Therefore, the mind wouldn't be capable of doing anything. It couldn't even exist. It couldn't do anything. So it's an impossibility. Sorry, was that too much?
Yes.
Okay, start again. I'm sorry, I forgot, Pedro. So if the mind doesn't depend upon the, if the mind is not merely, another way of saying things exist in dependence upon the mind that labels it. Another way of saying things exist in dependence upon the mind that labels it. Another way of saying that.
Uma outra maneira de dizer que as coisas existem dependendo da mente que as nomeia
is everything's merely labeled.
É que tudo é meramente nomeado.
Everything's merely labeled.
Tudo é meramente nomeado.
So if the only thing that's not merely labeled is the mind,
então a única coisa que não é meramente nomeada é a própria mente.
That means mind itself exists.
Quer dizer que a mente em si mesma
exists without depending on anything.
Ela existe sem depender de nada.
That means it has no parts.
Ela não tem partes.
That means it has no causes.
Ela não tem causas.
And that's all of the points that Buddha's arguing with. It's impossible. It couldn't be so. It's not possible.
Não é possível. Tem todos os pontos que o Buda discute.
So Buddha's simple point is that whatever exists necessarily is merely labeled. Whatever exists.
O ponto em que o Buda insiste é que tudo que existe necessariamente é meramente nomeado.
So even in the Heart Sutra, he points out that the realization of wisdom is empty.
Então mesmo no Sutra do Coração ele aponta que a sabedoria é vazia.
Means that wisdom is merely labeled.
Quer dizer que ela é meramente
nomeada. And that
nomeada.
wisdom is the wisdom that realizes emptiness.
E ele está se referindo à sabedoria que realiza a vacuidade.
That's empty of existing from its own side, that wisdom.
This is empty from
that
what?
Wisdom that realizes emptiness is also empty of existing from its own side.
Então, essa sabedoria que realiza a vacuidade, ela também é vazia de inerência intrínseca.
And wisdom is mind. Wisdom is mind.
Porque a sabedoria é mente.
And he also says in the Heart Sutra,
E ele também diz no
The
Sutra do
attainment
Coração
of that wisdom is also empty.
que alcançar essa sabedoria também é a vacuidade.
So that absence of inherent attainment
Então, essa ausência de obtenção
is
dessa
also
sabedoria
empty. Is also empty.
também é vazia.
So emptiness itself is empty also. Whatever exists has to be dependent arising. Whatever's dependent arising has to be empty.
Então, a vacuidade em si mesma também é vazia, porque tudo que depende da originação dependente é vazio.
It sounds tricky, but it's not really. We just have to get used to it, you know.
Yes, parece um pouco assim complicado, mas na verdade não, é simples.
And slowly the penny drops, as we say in English.
Eu não sei como traduzir isso, é como quando cai uma moeda, né?
A ficha cai.
A ficha cai.
The bottom line, the ruthless thing to do for your mind, Pedro, the ruthless thing to do,
Então, Pedro, a coisa dura de você fazer com a sua mente,
whatever exists,
o que quer que exista,
can't exist inherently.
não pode existir de forma inerente.
If a thing were inherent,
Se uma coisa fosse inerente,
it can't exist.
ela não pode existir.
So keep remembering that.
Ok,
Thank
é pra
you.
gente se lembrar disso.
Next one.
Thank you very much.
Okay, pleasure. Thank you, Pedro. Next one.
Alessia Bulgari.
Go, Alessia. Where are you? Who is it?
Alessia Bulgari.
Okay, Alessia, talk to me, darling. Where are you? There you go.
Thank you, Venerable.
Go on,
And
sweetheart.
thank you, everyone. So I would like to know, when we think of these objects that we have to prove to be empty, do we apply all three levels of dependent arising, or
No.
there are objects that maybe are, for instance, depending upon label and causes, but maybe not upon parts.
I see, I
Sometimes
understand. I understand, okay. So in general, Alessia is asking, okay, say it in another way, Alessia, for Claudia to translate.
Português, por favor.
I don't speak Portuguese, I'm sorry.
So say it again
Português,
simply, say it again in English, one sentence.
Yes.
She's asking, are there some phenomena that are not dependent in all those ways? That's what she's asking.
Então, o que ela está perguntando é: existe algum fenômeno que não é dependente de alguma dessas formas, dessas
Okay.
maneiras?
Now we have
Nenhuma
to
dessas maneiras?
Now we have to get abstract again. I'm very sorry. Now we have to
Yes.
get abstract again. I'm very sorry.
Ela sente muito, a gente vai ter que ficar abstrato
Okay.
novamente. A gente vai ter que
There are
abstrair.
trillions of phenomena.
Existem trilhões de fenômenos.
There are some that are impermanent,
Alguns são
which
impermanentes,
change from moment to moment,
que mudam de momento a
which are the
momento,
product of causes.
que são dependentes de causas.
And all the world as we know it is like that,
E todo mundo que a gente conhece é assim,
including the mind.
incluindo a mente.
They're impermanent phenomena.
Ela é um fenômeno
So the
impermanente.
first level of dependent arising relates to them and the other two.
Então, as coisas em originação dependente, elas se relacionam com isso. I missed the first part of the sentence.
All impermanent phenomena, the three levels of dependent arising refer to,
Yes.
to impermanent phenomena.
Então, os três níveis de originação dependente, elas se referem aos fenômenos impermanentes.
Now we're getting abstract.
E agora a gente vai abstrair.
There are some phenomena that are not impermanent,
Existe algum fenômeno que não é impermanente,
not changing from moment to moment,
que não muda de momento a momento,
not as a result of causes.
que não é resultado de causas.
And an example of that kind of phenomenon is the absence of something.
E um exemplo desse tipo de fenômeno é a ausência de alguma coisa.
Listen, I never talk about this ever because it just seems like almost abstract to us. As we study more, we need to understand this.
Ela quase nunca fala sobre isso porque parece muita abstração, mas eventualmente, conforme a gente estuda, a gente necessariamente tem que entrar nisso.
So I know that Alex Berzin, one American scholar, he refers, the way they typically call it, in the literature, they typically refer to this as a permanent phenomenon.
Então, existe escolástico, Alex Pearson.
No, forget that. Forget that. That second part. Start again. In the literature, they refer to these type of phenomena that aren't impermanent as permanent.
Existe uma literatura que se refere a esses fenômenos impermanentes como permanentes.
That confuses us.
E isso deixa a gente
Because we think
confuso.
permanent means lasting forever.
Porque a gente acha que permanente significa durando para sempre.
But there's a level of, but here the meaning is, one of the meanings of impermanent is not, one of the meanings, one of the characteristics of an impermanent phenomenon is it changes from moment to moment. It's very dynamic.
Uma das características dos fenômenos impermanentes é que eles mudam de momento a momento. É muito dinâmico.
Yeah. That's subtle impermanence.
Essa é uma impermanência
So
sutil.
these phenomena, such as the absence of something,
Mas um fenômeno como a ausência de alguma coisa,
they're permanent insofar as they don't change from moment to moment.
eles são permanentes no sentido em que eles não mudam de momento a momento.
A permanent phenomenon in this sense can only be, it is not something that's made of the world or matter or mind. It's not possible.
Então, o fenômeno permanente, nesse sentido, não é algo que é feito da matéria ou do mundo.
So
ou da...
the absence of pink on this cup, think about this.
Vamos pensar nesse exemplo. A ausência de rosa nessa garrafa,
The absence of pink on a black cup
a ausência de rosa numa garrafa preta
is completely it's a completely abstract concept.
isso é um conceito totalmente abstrato.
It's a very real thing
É muito real.
for the person who thought before that it was pink.
Muito real para a pessoa que pensou antes que a garrafa
But
era
that
rosa.
phenomenon that does exist for that person's mind when their eyes are fixed,
Esse fenômeno que existe para essa pessoa quando ela olha,
the recognition of the absence of pink there,
o reconhecimento da ausência do
that
rosa ali,
phenomenon, that object of knowledge, that existent,
esse fenômeno, esse objeto de conhecimento existe,
called the absence of pink,
que é chamado ausência de rosa.
you can't touch it, taste it, smell it.
Você não pode tocar, não pode provar, não pode sentir o cheiro dele.
Alex Berzin calls it an abstract phenomenon.
Esse escolástico, ele chama isso de um fenômeno
But it's
abstrato,
real.
mas real.
So the emptiness of inherent existence is real and powerful and necessary to realize.
Então, a vacuidade da existência intrínseca é real, verdadeira, precisa ser realizada.
But in this way we're describing, according to Buddha's philosophy, it's not an impermanent phenomenon.
E desse modo, como a gente está descrevendo dentro da filosofia budista, ele não é um fenômeno impermanente.
Yeah. So the first level of dependent arising only refers to impermanent phenomena.
Sorry?
The
The
first
first-
level of dependent arising only refers to impermanent phenomena.
Então, o primeiro nível da originação dependente só se refere a fenômenos impermanentes.
The second and the third refer to all phenomena.
E o segundo e o terceiro se referem a todos os fenômenos.
So there's no phenomenon that doesn't have parts.
E não existe nenhum fenômeno que não seja constituído de
So
partes.
the phenomenon called the absence of pink, the object that your mind is cognizing once you've fixed your eyes, the object you're cognizing for you, the object called absence of pink,
Então, esse objeto que você reconhece quando você fixa seus olhos, esse objeto que se chama o reconhecimento da ausência do rosa,
what are its parts?
é uma das partes.
They're not moments of mind,
Não são momentos da
they're not
mente,
atoms,
não são
but there's
átomos.
this moment of the absence of pink, and the next moment of the absence of pink, and the next moment of the absence of pink. They're parts.
Mas esse momento da ausência do rosa e o próximo momento da ausência do rosa e o momento seguinte da ausência do rosa, eles são partes.
And then absolutely all phenomena have this third one as well, no question.
Então, absolutamente todos os fenômenos têm essa terceira característica.
So this is the philosophy, and it's easy to get clever with our minds, but it's important to get the experience of the point of it, you know, that's all.
E isso é uma filosofia, e é fácil a gente ficar esperto na nossa cabeça, mas isso é uma questão de saborear, uma experiência.
Okay? So is that
Yes.
answer your question?
Yes, for me, what is really important is to know: am I satisfied with my reasoning if I am reasoning of something and I cannot find its parts, and should I still be satisfied?
But there are
if
always
I find
parts. But you have, so give an example. Everything has parts.
I cannot find always the parts.
Well, then you haven't understood the thing. No, well, try and think more fundamentally of how nothing can happen. Nothing can be partless. Nothing can not have parts. Nothing. A second of... Oh, sorry, go on. Sorry, Claudia.
O Venerável está dizendo que nada é não constituído por partes, que a gente tem que
So listen.
pensar...
Go on. Go
Que a
on.
gente tem que pensar sobre isso, a gente tem que pensar mais profundamente sobre isso, que nada é possível de não existir contendo partes.
Forget about permanent phenomena.
Esquece sobre
Impermanent
fenômenos
phenomena, you've got mind and you've got matter.
Você tem a matéria, e você tem a mente, e você tem a matéria.
So if you take a piece of the mind, a moment of anger, a moment of jealousy, every second of that moment has got parts. You can't have a thing that hasn't got parts. Not possible. Not possible. A moment of... All those... Go on, Claudia.
Se você pegar um momento da sua mente, um momento de raiva, um momento de ciúme, mesmo esses momentos, que são um momento, eles têm partes. Não existe nada que não tenha parte. Você pode quebrar isso em partes.
Physical things have parts. It's easy to say. Physical things have parts, absolutely.
As coisas físicas têm partes, então é fácil de ver.
And then there's mind. That's it.
E também a mente.
So each moment of mind is its parts. That's all.
Cada momento da mente tem suas partes.
And actually, the meditation on subtle impermanence.
E isso é uma meditação sobre impermanência sutil.
Getting down, drilling down ever more subtly.
Então a gente vai meio que perfurando em níveis cada vez mais sutis.
You'll never get to the subtlest moment where you can't find a part.
E a gente nunca vai conseguir chegar no momento mais sutil onde não existe uma parte.
So actually, the meditation on subtle impermanence can be confused for emptiness.
A meditação sorry, what's the name of the meditation?
The meditation on subtle impermanence.
A meditação da impermanência sutil, ela pode confundir a gente um pouco em relação à vacuidade.
We can confuse subtle impermanence for emptiness.
Sorry.
We can confuse subtle impermanence for emptiness.
A gente pode confundir a impermanência sutil com vacuidade.
Are we communicating, Alicia?
Você entendeu, Alicia?
No.
Which type of phenomenon are you discussing then? If it's not mind and it's not matter, what is it?
Esse fenômeno que você está discutindo, se ele não é matéria nem mente, o que é ele?
What type of phenomenon are you talking about?
O que você está falando? O que você está falando?
In a very basic way, if I think of, for instance, a color, I cannot find the parts.
A color is a phenomenon, and it's it's an impermanent phenomenon, which means it's made of parts. So hang on, Claudia.
Então ela está falando que se ela pensa sobre uma cor, por exemplo, ela não consegue encontrar partes. E a Venerável está dizendo que a cor ela é feita de partes. Você pode analisar a cor através das suas partes.
I mean, pink is a constructed phenomenon. It's made up of causes, and if it's made up of causes, it's got parts.
Se o rosa, por exemplo, o cor-de-rosa, ele é um fenômeno
It's
que
made
é
of
feito
bits
de
and
partes.
pieces.
Ela é feita de pedaços e partes. Se você pensa sobre qualquer
How
coisa,
could it
ela
not
é
be made
feita
of
de
bits?
partes.
How can you find a piece of pink that's not made of bits and pieces? How can you find a bit of pink that isn't caused?
Como é que você pode encontrar um pedaço de rosa que não foi feito não foi gerado por causas?
I can find the parts of the object that is pink, but not of the pink itself.
Ela está dizendo que ela pode encontrar as partes do objeto que ela considera rosa, mas não do rosa em si mesmo.
Well, keep looking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Então você continua olhando.
All right, everybody?
Tudo bem, pessoal?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Yes.
darling. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everybody. Thank you, Alessia, for your question. Thank you, Pedro, for your question.
Obrigada, Pedro. Obrigada, Alessia, por suas perguntas. Obrigada.
See you in an hour.
Daqui uma hora a gente se vê.
Bye. Right, speak proper English otherwise. A human created. You have to have a hyphen there.
Okay. Okay.
So then what do you want me to ask? What do you want me to comment now?
Well, I was simply referring back to the, you had said to put the mission state or the vision statement on the home page.
I had,
So
yes.
that's all I was referring to in this particular email.
Well, I mean, it's not very centered. It's kind of weird. Look how he's done it. Sort of off-centered.
Yeah, well, I think he's not finished because I just put it up again and it looks differently this time.
Okay, whatever then. Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the other thing, and we could go back.
Okay, so
I can,
stop for a minute, Jackie. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop. I see when I was looking at the words, the green words, you got it on the green words. You got the heading, plant your tree, grow our forest, save their future. So if you have the words that I've just noticed now, beneath the above, then still you're implying, I mean, it doesn't, who is, okay, Jesus wept. If you're talking about your tree makes sense. Our forest makes sense. Their future. So if it's written underneath the mission statement, then it seems to be their future refers to the people and animals and the environment. That's the logical deduction. It does not refer to children. You said children.
Okay, but so it's the whole ball of wax.
Well, you didn't say it before. I only saw it on the green one, and you just said it implies the children. I can't see how that does that. But if you say them, now I'm seeing it on the mission underneath, but then don't have it bloody twice. It's stupid. Jackie, all I can do is tell you my thoughts. To have it twice like this, if you read the mission statement first and you go straight to the green, maybe if you read the mission statement first, you can then understand maybe their future does refer to the people and the animals and the environment. But to have it twice is foolish, just unnecessary.
Well, you had told us at one point to put it on every page.
Who
so
said?
We've got to,
Jackie, I don't remember all these things. Jesus wept, darling. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be. I am being rude. I know that. I don't mean to be rude. My mind's a bit overwhelmed.
we put it on every page because that was an instruction you gave us in the very beginning.
Don't tell me I give you instructions. If you just tell next second I'm not part of your committee, don't have it both ways. Make up your mind. I give you suggestions, Jackie. I'm not on your committee, as you just pointed out. Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
So, darling, whatever.
Okay.
You got one page here. You got one page. The home page is one page. Anyway, darling, whatever. I don't care. What do you want my opinion on, Jackie? What do you want my opinion on today?
Okay, I'll send you the other things, and we can work on these matters later. But at the moment, I'll send you the document. Okay.
Which document are you sending me now? Have you sent to me yet already or not?
Yeah, the one I sent you that you can't find because your email's not
And you've sent it to me now. Have you sent it to me now? Let me just see it now. Just send it now, Jackie.
I will, Robina. I'm going to go get it.
You're not at your computer.
It is on my computer, but I have to go into my computer to get it, and I will do that right this minute.
Okay, darling. Okay, very good.
Okay,
sweetheart. I'm waiting.
Thanks,
then.
Robina.
Come on, do it. I'm waiting. I'm waiting, Jackie. Do it now. How long will it take you? No.
It'll take me a minute, Robina. I've got to go in and find it, and then I will send it as soon as I do.
Okay, darling. I'll hang up then.
I promise you. I'm not going to do anything else but go in and find it.
Okay, darling. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Robina.
John?
Yes, hello, Venerable.
John, where's all these ideas coming from about bloody collecting files? It sounds so enormous. I mean, you don't even do the jobs that are small, and you want this massive big job. I mean, you're just getting carried away, I think. Or am I being unrealistic?
I've been spending a lot of time thinking about it now. It's mostly because I have all the systems ready.
But I mean, who are these people you're talking about?
Kate, Val, Mostly
Val,
PayPal and also
Val's got
Folio.
millions of financial documents. What do you want? What do you think you should? What are you wanting to see? What do you want to do? What's the goal? What's the result?
The result is to provide collaboration space.
No, what is the literal result? Not a theory, a literal result.
I gave some examples in the email,
John, darling, just
yes.
give me the result. What's the product at the end of this work? What would you hand over to me? What's the product?
It's a collection of all your documents.
And like what documents? I mean, I've got millions of emails. You want me to copy all those millions of emails for this USB stick? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not.
What are you saying? So what are you saying? What documents would I give you, for example? What are you saying?
I think it depends on what you would want archived and backed up. And I'm not sure which files you use to collaborate with others as well.
What do you mean collaborate? I never use that word. People go on about collaborating and bloody Google rubbish. I just think it's kind of just marketing bullshit. What do you mean by collaborate? I email people. That's how I collaborate. I don't have files ever. That's why I can't stand Dropbox. I can't stand all those things. One place where lots of photos are, that makes sense. But I can't, I know what you're saying. It's a wonderful theory, John. It's brilliant. But I believe you me, I cannot see Kate in a million years going through her years and years and years of files and working out what to send you and what not. It would make her completely insane and she won't do it. I'm quite sure. So I don't know what it is you would want her to send you. Emails, so much happens in emails. My Word documents, my projects are all the work I have folding. I have folders on all the different projects I have. So when you say collaborate, I talk to you and you do certain jobs for me. Val does the money. Katie did do certain things. Kate is doing certain things. I don't know. It sounds a wonderful theory to have it all in one place. I understand that point. But to get to that conclusion, though, John, to get to that point, I can't see it happening. Go on.
Well,
tell me.
For Kate, she doesn't have to do anything. All she has to do is install Backblaze, and I do all the rest. That's how.
And what do you mean by Backblaze? You mean all her computer? She's going to show you her computer? I don't think so. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yes, I would need to ask her.
There's no way. I know Kate. There's no way in the world she'll give you permission to do that. I just know that. I'm quite convinced there's no way she's going to allow you to go through her computer and sort out bodhicitta trust things. How the hell could you find them? John.
Well, she does seem to have them pretty well organized into certain folders, and we could just back up those. So, or at least I'll try. I'll see how feasible it is to just get those files.
John.
Oh. Well,
I love the idea. John, it's a marvellous idea. In the old-fashioned days, people had filing cabinets and everything was there. I agree with you. Now, with everybody in the world having their own computer, I agree. It's quite difficult. I agree with that, John. But for me, at the moment, for that being a priority, I do not think so. You don't even do the other jobs you promised me you'll do. And you know what you're like. It's a wonderful, grand idea. Maybe work towards it. I don't know. It's wonderful that you think of it. I'm so happy.
Yes,
but I haven't even got my database yet. I haven't got the things you always promised me. You know what you like. You know what you like. You know what you like. And you've got this wonderful idea. Your mind's so fantastic.
Yes, Venerable, I didn't plan to take time to do this now. The whole point was that it requires a lot of advanced planning, so I just wanted to start now, that's all.
I understand, but I can't see Kate giving you her computer. Has she given you all the photos? No, she hasn't, has she?
Yes, she has.
She has given you all the photos, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, who else is there? What were you wanting from Val? What would you want from Val?
Well, there isn't anything specific I need.
But what would you want? No, John, please. If you want this vision of everything of bodhicitta trust all in one place, what would you want from Val? And what would be the advantage of... what would you want from Val?
What I'm basing this on is that when I was doing your accounts, there were so many times that we wasted so many hundreds of hours trying to send files to each other, and it was just such a waste of time.
What?
And this is so much more efficient.
John, I don't remember what you're talking about, hundreds of hours wasting time finding files. That's a complete nonsense.
Yes, this is when I was working with Marilyn and Michelle and lots of other people, and everybody lost things on their computers.
Well, that's because they were badly organized, but that doesn't happen with Val. She's totally efficient. What are you saying?
Yes, I understand, Venerable.
So what would you want?
So
all I'm asking is, what would you want from Val? What should be on this big grand file? From Val?
Well, the first benefit is that they're all backed up.
I'm asking you, what would you want from Val, John? That's what I'm asking you.
Venerable, I'm like a broker in this. I'm not the one who.
John, you're the one who's created the fucking idea. So. You came up with the idea, so you tell me what you want. You're the one who's got the vision. So tell me what you want from Val. If you haven't thought about it, that means you haven't thought it through properly.
No, all I know is when I need things from people,
John,
it usually takes
what do you want from Val? What would you want?
I want to be prepared to receive things from Val when I need them. That's all.
What do you mean you need them? Why would you need the damn financial documents? What are you talking about?
Well, that's the point. When anybody needs them.
I don't need the financial documents. I never look at them ever. I trust Val. They're all there. And we want to go onto that software and they're all there if you need them. John, I think I hear you, but I think you're not thinking it through properly. When I ask you the question, you don't even know the answer. What would you want from me? I'm asking you again, what would you want from me?
That has yet to be determined, Venerable.
No, but that's catch-22. You have come up with the concept. If you come up with a concept, you know what should be there.
Well, sometimes I don't know what we have until I see it. Like when Kate sent me that thumb drive with all those files in 2015, that was amazing. I've used so many of those files so many times, and I really wish I had the updated versions of everything that's there. It would be really useful for the social media work that I'm doing and collecting audio and video transcripts. And that was a goal from many years ago that I just dropped. But I would like to resume gathering teachings.
So tell me so you keep talking about it as if it's going to help you. What have you got to do with the price of fish? What are you talking about? John, I mean, you got so grand.
I can get it organized for everybody. It works beautifully in the other teams that I work with. That when we have a centralized repository, that just makes everything so much easier.
Where in all the time you and I have communicated, forget about accounting, all recent times, where has there been backups and obstacles because you haven't seen all my files? I don't think there's ever been. I just say, do something and you do it. I mean, I'm not, in a way, I'm not arguing with your view, but suddenly you seem to be so fierce about it, as if it's like kind of the beginning and the end of the universe, you know?
I think it works well with you, Venerable, because we have other systems in place like Backblaze, and you're okay with me looking through your emails. But that's
you never look in my emails for anything. You never need to. You never look in my documents. I've never had to ever send you any documents of mine. I don't know what you're talking about. You're exaggerating things, John. I just think you're exaggerating things. I mean, an archive of financial and legal documents. I have one legal document. My trust. That's good. That's a good idea. Financial. That's all the QuickBooks that she's doing. It's all there on QuickBooks. All there. All on QuickBooks. All her stuff is on QuickBooks. Everything she does is on QuickBooks. That's there. A shared folder. I don't want shared fucking folders. Who would I share my folders with, John? Who? I don't understand. The theory I like, but I just never think that way.
Yes, I don't think you share folders with others very often, but many people have shared folders with you. That you've got photos and so on.
No, excuse me, they never have. I never look at them. I've never looked in bloody Dropbox once. Ever. I hate it. It's confusing and a mess.
Okay, I understand that.
John, it's a marvellous, grand idea. But all I can say is if you want to make it happen, I mean, I don't know who you're going to ask. What are you going to say to Kate? What give a piece of advice to Kate? I mean, what she's done all these years, what she's done is like write lots of things. She writes emails to people. She's communicating on behalf of me for people for personal things. She buys things for me. She did all that. She email on my behalf and send photos to people. I'd forward emails to her. None of this is possibly possible to be found. And no benefit in having all that ongoing communication. No benefit. As for anything else that's hard stuff, like documents, Word documents, I don't know what it is that you'd like her to send you. What would it be useful to you? I know what you're saying, and I keep my own folders, but many of my things are left in my emails, but I have folders. I keep copies of my emails. I keep copies of my folders. They are important to me, but I can't imagine any one of those being any use to anybody else. You, Kate, Katie, or Val. So I don't know what I'd give you that would be useful to you. And I don't know what Kate would give you. I mean, even though Kate's done all those years for me, her computer could die tomorrow, John, and nothing would change. Nothing's missing. So I think sometimes you may be thinking of all the things that have happened and it feels like a difficulty, it feels like a problem for you not to have it. But even if it's all got burnt, I don't care. It's all gone. It's finished. There's no history of anything in Kate's stuff except personal way she's helped me. And even if her computer collapsed tomorrow and nothing was left, Bodhicitta Trust would not change one fraction. Are you hearing my point? So the idea of having every single thing is insane. To having some things that we need to share, like photos. One for me is mainly photos, I promise you. That's about it. But I can't imagine anything else that Kate has got. Right now, even though she's left me like 15 times, she retires, she resigns, she comes back, she resigns. I don't know if she'll come back again, I've got no idea. But all the years I've worked with her, I've never received anything from her. I've never asked her to send me anything. The only one is the photos. And even if I don't ask her for anything now, nothing will change in my life. I will get along fine with what I'm doing. All her years of communicating with, even recently with you, with your nuts, with other people, with Pam, all her ideas, all her endless ideas about the website, all of those could go down the toilet and it doesn't matter, John. So there's another way of seeing it too. Get at essential, fundamental things we need, nothing wrong. But all the files that she's ever had, even you said back then she gave you something in 2015, you were amazed at how much. But I don't care about it. It doesn't help me. So get my point. Are you seeing the point I'm making?
Yes, Madam.
Some things, yes, John. But the fact that she's written hundreds of emails and got hundreds of Word documents doesn't matter. It's not necessary to have as a history of Bodhicitta Trust. So it's just kind of like endless, because people save every single tiny thing. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because it's just unnecessary. If I think it through, analysing your point, what do I need to see? What do I need to share with anybody else? Nothing I'm doing, I want to share with Katie. Nothing I'm doing, John, I'm very sorry, I want to share with you. There's no need. I'll tell you what I need. You're saying the social media work I'm doing, I need it. I don't think so. I'm not sure, John. Are you seeing my other way of seeing it?
Yes, Venerable, thank you.
So, darling, it's a wonderful, great view, but I just wish, I'd love it, if you could do it, keep it simple, but for asking Kate to send you all her Bodhicitta files, I don't even want them. Can you see my point?
I understand.
What use are they?
Yes.
It's gone, they're just gone, it's like phone calls. But these days, instead of phone calls, we have emails, so it's all saved. But you don't save transcripts of phone calls, and that's just as valid, just as important. On major projects, I do keep folders. I do keep my own folders. I make text copies of my emails, so I have a complete record of certain things, and that has been helpful for me in the years. But not every tiny thing that Kate has done. Unnecessary, I promise you. There's nothing major that Kate's got that I need right now to keep growing Bodhicitta Trust. And okay. Kate's got 2 projects. At the moment, Kate's got 2 projects. And then there's you. And then there's your nuts and Susanna and Pam, and there's other people. They're doing their jobs. The bottom line of their work is the result, the podcasts and the videos. I don't need their work that got to that point. And then there's Val, and everything is on QuickBooks. So please tell me now what you'd like in one master document. It would be useful. If all drop dead, it's good to have something there so people can carry on. But that means the documents, that's all on QuickBooks. That's all we need for her, don't we? Nothing else, isn't it, with QuickBooks? Would you agree?
I haven't worked with her enough to know.
John,
yes.
Think it through intellectually. What else would we need from Val? All my thousands of emails with her? I have more emails with Val than anybody else. Anybody, including everybody together, more. Not one of them is relevant. It's just communicating to get, and the result is the accounts. All I care is the bottom line is the result, the accounts and the things that go to the IRS. That's all that's necessary. The communicating is not necessary. Can you hear my point?
Yes. One concern I have with that is that email has no security.
I beg your pardon?
I
beg your pardon?
It's very easy for people to steal things that are emailed.
Like what? Give me an example.
Anything you attach to an email.
I'm talking about Val here. I'm talking about my back and forth documents about back and forth emails about what to do and what to charge. What are you talking about? Security. I don't care if people see that. What are you talking about?
Okay. Well, in the past, people used to send each other a lot of sensitive documents, like copies of your passport and lots of things like that. And I'd really like to centralize those so we don't need to send them to each other.
John.
So.
I'm not interested. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to be disappointing to you, but I'm not interested.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I know you're trying to help me, darling. I know you're trying to help me, John. Can we maybe put it to in the future? And think carefully of what you really do need, not just this vast vision. Narrow it down exactly what you think is necessary, and I'm happy to do. But meanwhile, I'd like my database, please.
Yes, Venerable.
I'm not trying to thwart your efforts. You're very fantastic. But it sounds great. But when I analyze it in the way I think, it's too vast and absurd. Who are these people? Who are this team you're talking about that needs access to all this stuff? I mean, I don't want anybody to have access to my accounts. It's only Val and me. Thank you very much.
Yes, I understand that, Venerable, and those would be restricted to just you two. So, but I still think that might be more beneficial than emailing.
What?
So,
what are you saying, John? John, what are you telling me? What do you mean emailing? I don't email her documents. What are you talking about? You're making things up. What are you saying to me, John?
Yes, Venerable.
What are you saying to me? Say it. Jesus,
it sounds like I've estimated incorrectly on a number of things.
I think you have. You're over like your grand, wonderful way your mind works. You've got these big visions. It's fantastic. But to say what would be? I mean, what? I email.
I do think it'd be
what, John?
I do think it'd be beneficial to at least give people a short summary of what's possible.
Which people are you talking about?
People like, for example, Yonut, Pam, Gabe.
And what do you want them to give you? What do you want them to do?
We all work together on the website, and a lot of times we're missing a piece of information.
And what do you think will be in this magical thing that'll make it all the difference? What would be there? Give an example, John.
The underlying files that contribute to the website.
What? Underlying files that contribute to the website?
And the collection of podcasts that Pam produces.
But they're all stored somewhere, aren't they? Where are they stored right now?
I'm not sure, Venerable. So
where do you want them to be stored? But where do you want them to be stored?
The idea here is to have one centralized repository where everything is stored, so that we don't need to worry about where things are located. So.
But I'm not worried about it. I mean, I know what you're saying. But all the podcasts, they're on something online. She puts them up online to this thing, Libsyn or something. I don't know. Will you tell me where they're stored? I don't know.
Yes, I believe a lot of them are in Libsyn.
Okay, so listen, John, just listen. In all the work I do, all the work everybody else does, in the end it turns into a product. The product is the accounts on QuickBooks. The product for Thingamy is a podcast. The product is a website. The product is the Facebook posts. And then the product, that's about all. That's about all there is. And then the work I do individually with all my different people and other different, that'll all be on the website eventually. So in the end, everything the work is done turns into these products. That's the proof of the pudding. That's what we need. So sure, one place where we can have accounts, besides QuickBooks, if you like, one place to have the podcasts, one place to have the videos. Okay, that I don't mind. That's reasonable. One place to have photos, hard-edge stuff, like photos, podcasts, teachings. Absolutely, we need all that. But all communication between people, I don't think so. That is completely insanity.
Yes, I didn't intend to include that.
Well, that's what 99% of what Kate's got. She's got nothing hard that I need. Kate has nothing that I need. Maybe I might ask her a question, but so far I never have. And when she leaves me, I manage, fine, carrying on my jobs. It's a pity to have. I need a person. But all the stuff that she does to make that happen is like communicating with people and emails and writing bios for people. I've got all those here. We've got those. So, but there's still, nobody else needs those. But if I eventually have one, but hard-edge stuff, podcasts, accounts, legal documents, absolutely, we need those. That's a good idea. Nothing else. Master copies of Dharma teachings include, it sounds so lovely theory. Teachings, I've got millions of teachings on YouTube. Look at them. Millions of videos. They're not mine. I don't possess any of them. Transcripts is hardly anything because I don't have anybody transcribing for me. I don't have any of that stuff. They're existing in the ether. If people start transcribing, yes. Financial documents, that's QuickBooks. Legal, I have one document, one trust document. Archives of other materials that might be useful for future projects such as websites. Contents of previous versions. I don't want to know about that, but you can do that if you like. All these files, you say, files that people can have easy access. But these people you're talking about, it's true, but when I analyze the words, John, with my brutal mind and try to bring it down into what it fits in reality, I can't find much of it fitting in reality. I can see a thing, again, I repeat it, podcasts, videos, photos. Good, nothing wrong. But all the past versions of bloody websites couldn't give a fuck. Not interested.
Okay.
So I'm happy, something like this, John. Something. But really, this is often the disconnect with your mind. You have wonderful theories, and then I can't put them down into reality very often. That's what I'm good at. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, thank you.
Good, darling. So I'm happy with a plan like this. There's nothing wrong, but keep it very simple. Let's refine it, really narrow it down. Don't get so theoretical. Meanwhile, give me the jobs I'm waiting for. I'll be very happy. Then I can have. If you do this as well, I'm blissed out. We do need records. We do need something, some documents. It's true, but not all the big drama you're saying. And there's nothing, believe me, except photos. There is nothing Kate has, I think, that we need. Can you hear that?
Yes, Venerable.
What else would it be? I mean, she's written a few blurbs. She writes a bio of me, which I've got. She writes a couple of blurbs for things, for Facebook. I mean, like you did before, you know, and you're doing it now. So yes, let's narrow this down to really essentials. Then I'm happy.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Thank you, Venerable.
what about the other? So what other projects you got on your plate? I've got to leave, so I've got to go back to Rio and teach. What other things you got on your plate for me? Now we're on the phone.
Yes. Other than the database, I'm learning the website with Gabe. And,
you're learning it. Are you seriously learning it, or are you just theoretically learning it? John?
I haven't spent much time in the last week on this.
John, are you learning it, or is it just in your head learning it? Have you actually done any work at all on it? Please, John.
I did it. I did it first, Venerable. The first week I did some work.
And so now?
And,
where is it at now?
I'm picking it back up again to look at the podcasts. So.
And then what is your plan once you've learned this system? What do you plan to do, John? What's the goal here?
I'm keeping track of which things that I'm capable of managing, and might be able to either to help someone or help on this topic in the future.
What?
What?
I thought you were learning from Gabe so you could do the website. You can be the go-to person for the website. Isn't that the plan?
Oh, well, I don't think it's ever going to be possible for me to be the end-all person because it's not my profession. So I think
John, don't exaggerate things. John, I don't exaggerate
yes.
things. The moment it is the RC website is there. What it is what it is. It's just got to be kept up to date. That's all. Don't make the grand statements. So if you can learn his system and then we look at it, you'll know what to up to date. We'll know how to put things up to date, make the podcast up to date, make the videos complete. I mean, that job that this other man, Karthik, I've got him to do is all the list of all the YouTube things for the last 3 years. That's got to go somewhere. So that can be, you can be the person to go to for the website. Thank you very much. You need to be. Otherwise, what's the point of learning Gabe's system?
Yes, that's exactly it, Venerable. I was, maybe I misinterpreted what you said, but I think I'll probably always need occasional help from someone like Gabe or Arnaud, who really knows the inner workings of the websites. But my goal is to get as far as I can.
John, so, I don't, listen, what did you say about Gabe, what?
Well, for example, there are some things that I just don't know how to change in the website, and I have to go to someone like Gabe, and that will probably always be true.
Well, then, whatever. All I know is it's a ridiculous website with a stupid system with this idiot man that I bloody well accepted to do. It was foolish. I was going to hand it over to Arnaud. I can't do it right now, so he said, leave it like it is. You learn the basics and bloody will keep it up to date. But you've got to do it otherwise. If you don't do it, John, I'm not interested. Just fucking do it. All right?
Okay.
Look at what needs to be done and just do it, please. I'm very happy. And that I prefer to put your energy into. And the bloody database. What else?
Yes.
What else?
Would you, do you believe it makes sense for me to start publishing podcasts for Pam? So.
I mean, how much time is it going to be? Why is she just giving it up? What's she so lazy with no other bloody job to do in her life? Why is she giving it up?
She said that she finds it really tedious and would rather focus on
And how long does
creation.
it take? What's involved?
I don't know yet. I'm learning that now.
Learn how long it takes to do one website, one podcast. Find it out and then discuss it with me, please. I've got to go now anyway.
Okay. Yes,
so thank you very much. And I'd like my database, please.
Okay.
Thank you, John. Thank you, dear, very much. Thank you.
Hello?
Jackie, dear, listen, I'm a bit confused. What you just sent me is not what I'm talking about. All I know is when you sent me some words you wrote, just a bunch of words, and I wrote back perfect, and you went phew. I can't find
Right.
that email. What were those words, Jackie?
Didn't I just send you a document?
What document? The Word document? Background? I don't remember seeing words like according to tens and Ursula. Is that what you sent to me? Is that what you sent to me?
What I just sent to you, so I
Are
sent
these
you
the
an
words,
update.
Jackie? Are these the words in the document that you sent me to which I said perfect?
Yes.
So you mean the words that begin with according to Tenzin Ursula, our founder? You say these are the words you wrote, are they? Okay, so where are these words? Where are these words on your website? I can't see them.
I haven't put them on the website yet, Robina. We're waiting for you to. I was waiting for you to say if it was an improvement.
I told you perfect.
No, but Robina, it's a big section, so you told me to add it to the whole section so you could see the whole section.
I'm completely confused, Jackie. I'm so sorry. This is my
Okay,
mistake. You're doing nothing wrong. I'm just confused. Please
it's
tell
okay.
me what you're waiting for me from. I don't know what you're waiting for. I'm so sorry. Just please explain, darling. Forgive me.
We have a section on the website called About Us, and the background is all that you commented on. And so I corrected the background. You said it was perfect. And then there's the who we are section. There's the whole section on His Holiness, the section on the...
But what do you want me, what are you wanting from me? Because I'm confused about what you want from me now. I don't know what you said you're waiting on me. What for? I'm really lost. What are you waiting from me?
Because I put the corrections that I had made into context with the whole document.
I have to look at the website, Jackie. I can't find the website now. Where is it? Jackie,
it's not on the website, Robina.
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Okay, what are you waiting for me? Jackie, start fresh. Start fresh. Forgive me. I haven't been paying attention. It's my mistake. I've got to go back to...
quite all right.
So just explain exactly where the website's at and what do you want from me.
Okay, the document that I sent you just now is the document that will go on the website. The only thing is I know that Ocell's biography is too long. I took it off of OBL.
All I've got is one document here, and it's several paragraphs. So I didn't go look at all the rest. I only read the first page. I haven't read all the rest of it. I read none of the rest of it. So all of this, you want me to go through all this document and proofread. Is that what you're saying? And edit it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I was looking to see if I was heading in the right direction.
I only thought you meant the first page, and I read the first page, and that's what I said perfect to, not the rest.
Yes.
I didn't look at any of the rest.
Correct.
So what do you want me to do?
Well, I think right now we're at the point where we're just going to, the first page is good, so I think we're just going to go with it, and then we can correct it later if it needs correction.
Okay, so what about all the rest of the pages? What do you want me to do from
Don't
those?
worry about anything now. Don't worry about anything
I think just put it all on. I mean, you've got the right thing, our story, all this stuff. It's good. Our founder. What's wrong? Why do you say it's too long?
Our founder?
Why do you say it's too long?
Do you think I took it right off of OBL?
What's wrong with it? That's perfect. That's how it should be.
Okay.
I mean, it's his website.
Good.
It's another website. He's your founder. What's wrong with it? Nothing wrong. Our team, our sponsors. I mean, just go for it, Jackie. You're doing okay.
Okay.
And then when it's up and going, then you can edit the bloody thing.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, darling. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Bye-bye.
Bye, darling.